A sunny and beautiful morning at a large school, Seoyan High School in Incheon. A deep warm voice echoed, followed by the words, natural disasters. Seo Jun stood on the podium looking toward the students below, meaning that he did not just explain with words, he also held a piece of chalk and filled the board with writing. As everyone knew, disasters and strange phenomena came from natural occurrences, if interpreted in Chinese characters. After finishing writing the Chinese characters, Seo Jun slowly placed the chalk on the tray. The movement of the earth was caused by the wrath of heaven, which people could understand as floods or storms. His eyes widened, his pupils contracting repeatedly. Usually, people called disasters that could not be stopped by human power. Hastily adjusting the glasses slipping off his nose, Seo Jun lifted his head and looked at the students. You have no examples, right? These days around the world. It seemed his class was not interesting. A student named Di Bang held his head and groaned. My head hurts so bad. Those Chinese characters make me nauseous. Look at this. Don't touch me. I'm dizzy. His friend Chang Ryal beside him held a phone and kept gesturing. No, I mean look at this. In front of the two of them was a video of Im Kang recorded not long ago in Oryu-dong a few days earlier. Someone had posted it that morning, the white-helmeted superhero. His figure was full of strength, standing alone facing a huge monster, right up close. Other videos were filmed from far away, so they looked terrible, right? That guy must have risked his life to record it. What if he got dragged off? Yeah, that crazy guy is amazing. The moments when Im Kang risked his life, throwing punches and kicks, were thrilling to watch. Absolutely insane. Damn, that was awesome. The video was too short. It seemed the two hadn't had enough. They quickly scrolled down to the comments. If we got hit by one of those punches or kicks, we'd be dead and gone. Where the hell did that monster even come from? The two students were so immersed in the video that they forgot they were still in class, shouting loudly, "Go check that link out." On the podium, seeing his students distracted, Seo Jun grew irritated. You guys in the back, what are you mumbling about? Suddenly, the alarm rang out making noise throughout the hallway. It seemed that something dangerous had happened. The alarm continued endlessly. Alert! He stood there, eyes wide open in confusion. Danger alarm. The two students who had been noisy earlier were now silent as that sound echoed. The other students also became unusually quiet, listening to every sound that rose. Alarm. Only Im Kang lying on the desk, not caring, face down, attack and danger alarm. After a moment of silence, his friends around him returned to their previous state. Alarm. The school temporarily closed. Announcement from the Central Hazard Control. They happily packed up their books, their heads constantly thinking about what to do next. So interesting. Wanting to play billiards. The dangerous person Lee In-jong was judged to be near Incheon Port, but his exact whereabouts could not be grasped. The alarm sound gradually faded. The final announcement echoed, asking all classes to temporarily stop lessons, all teachers and students to leave quickly. As a teacher seeing his students too noisy, Seo Jun slammed the book hard on the table. Be quiet. His face full of worry, he reminded the class one last time. Just the beginning of the semester, and it is already a mess. Do not push each other in the hallway and do not cross the road. I hope you all go home safely. Yes. The students thus left one after another. Damn, if it is Incheon Port, then it is right in front of my house. One girl still sat there. It was Mu-hee. She was slowly arranging her books. Already, weekend already. Suddenly Mu-hee froze for a few moments and her mind kept hesitating. The third time this year, quite a lot. Why do I feel uneasy? The figure of In-jong appeared, with a rather grotesque appearance. A few years ago about 70 people died and Lee In-jong had turned Kanglung into a battlefield. If that guy appeared, something would happen. Today he will appear too. Superhero. After finishing packing everything into her bag, Mu-hee held it and looked toward Im Kang lying silently. His long snoring made her misunderstand. What? Do not tell me he is sleeping. Too curious, Mu-hee raised her hand, slightly leaning forward, intending to wake Im Kang. Hey. But before needing her help, he was disturbed by a phone call, making him startled. Holding the phone in his hand, the caller ID appeared before Im Kang's eyes. It was his close friend Ju Rai. Mu-hee was too surprised and quickly pulled her hand back, watching him answer the call. Hello. It seemed Im Kang was still drowsy, his mouth full of drool, pressing his ear to listen. Where? Class 3 Year 1 Seoyan High School, Im Kang, Incheon Port. Exact location. When departing I will tell you, and you must bring the headset. His eyes slightly narrowed from sleepiness, he mumbled, I know. In contrast to Im Kang, the voice on the other end was urgent. Kang, it is really urgent. The call ended, remembering an earlier issue. Im Kang turned his head to look at Mu-hee. His face bore red marks from pressing his face against the desk for too long earlier. Why? The girl opposite, her face full of bewilderment. Knowing the issue clearly, Im Kang stretched his shoulders and yawned. We should go home. His expression made Mu-hee uneasy. What is wrong with him? Seeing the classroom empty, she hurriedly left, holding her headset. So calm. Don't you want to live long? Mu-hee's figure faded away. Im Kang lifted his head and glanced silently. He bent slightly, hastily grabbed the bag that had been by his feet. The zipper opened. Inside were Im Kang's personal items. I brought my headset. I had to go to the restroom to change. After checking his things, he raised his head and glanced around repeatedly. Seeing no one there, carrying the bag, Im Kang quickly walking out of the room. All right, I will be careful not to be exposed. Incheon Port, boats docked densely along the pier, waiting for the day to set sail. That monster, one firm hand gripped the nearby control handle. A shoe-clad foot stomped urgently on the pedal, but something needed urgent resolution. In an instant, a pickup truck charged forward toward where something mysterious stood still. Through the glass, a driver with a face full of fury gripped the wheel tightly. Die, you dog. The truck rammed straight into that deformed monster named Injong. The windshield shattered. The consequence followed. The rear axle of the truck lifted off the ground due to the massive weight difference. As the smoke cleared, he still stood there proudly, looking unscathed. The attempt failed. The driver, sweat-soaked, looked at him. What the hell is this bastard? Perhaps those were the last words uttered. Injong raised his fist and charged. One blow flattened the truck's front. Human blood flew out. Silence fell. The vehicle was crushed and smoke billowed high. Chun Seo crouched beside the cargo bed, poking his head out to assess the situation. Unbelievable. He destroyed the truck. How can we survive? The noise from Yi-gu beside him irritated him, grabbing his lapel. You bastard, stop whining and pull yourself together. Listen to Chun Seo. He sniffled and stammered. Brother, we are dead for sure. Will you be quiet if you do not want to really die? Seeing Yi-gu finally cooperate, Chun Seo flicked his hand to release his grip on his collar. Yi-gu, pull yourself together and listen to me carefully. We can survive. You heard the military news too, so please shut up and be quiet. You just need to hide and wait. To make a sound decision, he peered around for Injong. If you do that, we'll have to fight it. You hear me, Yi-gu? Unaware that he was standing on top of the cargo bed. Back at school, Im Kang hurriedly searched for the restroom. Where is it? The restroom, to change clothes. After a while, in the boys' restroom, in a room, he adjusted his mask to be neat. Got it, Ju Rai, I am leaving right now. What about the headset? You put it on? Having put on the headset, Im Kang quickly reported, I have put it on. I am calling with that headset. What about the bag and the uniform? The hidden bag of clothes he arranged and tidied into a corner. Of course it had been carefully hidden. Ready, Im Kang moved toward the open window, stepped onto the window sill. Because you often forget, I am worried. Anyway, the distance from the school to there takes about 11 minutes. You just need to run exactly in the direction I tell you. Gripping the window edge tightly, Im Kang scanned the situation. How long will it take? The unexpected question from Ju Rai made him quite hesitant. After a moment of thought he said, I do not know. I must run as fast as possible. I am leaving now. After saying that, Im Kang became like Spider-Man, lightly springing off the building. He now shot straight up into the air, his face radiating coldness. Back at the port, Yi-gu and Chun Seo were dazed, frozen when they saw Injong had scented them out. He panicked, his face beaded with sweat, faking a scare. "I have typhoid." But unexpectedly, this method did not work. Chun Seo took a full punch, breaking his teeth, then tried fighting once. Thus, he was flung, his whole body slammed hard into a nearby cargo crate. Chun Seo lost too much blood, his hand loosened. He seemed to have completely lost consciousness and passed away forever. Having dealt with one person, In-jong turned his gaze toward Yi-gu, who was dazed. He did not hesitate, spreading his huge palm. One slap flattened him into the cargo. Yi-gu's body stuck tight like glue, his hand limp, as if life had gone. Another worker saw the scene. Before he could run, he was seen by In-jong. He took a run and leapt very high, launching straight toward that man, as if not giving him a chance to live. After just a few long bounds, In-jong landed, his giant body facing Ju-hoo's back. With a few words, he brought his hand with jet-black claws, squeezed his head tightly. "Spare me, please." Next he took a run, flinging Ju-hoo hard so he flew far away, unable to react. Fortunately, from nowhere a wrench was thrown, aimed at his head, striking with great force, stopping him immediately. A sudden pain hit his head, catching him off guard. Jong snapped angrily, turning his head to search for the attacker, his eyes rolling wildly. Ju-hoo lay on the ground, his whole body trembling in waves as he saw his savior, the team leader. The team leader had arrived just in time, helping him escape danger by a hair. "I said stop right now, you pig-faced monster." Back elsewhere, feet nimble, bouncing like a cricket repeatedly along the road. It was none other than Im-kang, running while listening to Ju-rai's announcement, already more than halfway there, almost like a plane. "From now on, if you go straight, you will arrive." He moved like a gust of wind, gliding past passers-by. "Kang, there's a quick news bulletin. Lee and Jong's henchmen are also coming. Just useless guys." Im-kang kicked off the edges of walls to gain momentum for the farthest movement possible. Anyway, he would be careful, because Lee and Jong's strength remained unknown. Ju-rai. The distance grew closer by the day, at the harbor where boats crowded the docks. Ju-hoo, his face smeared with blood, loudly called his name, "Captain N." Seeing his subordinate's spirit hard to control, the team leader shouted orders, "Sober up. Now is your chance to run quickly." His nose ran, voicing his inner thought, "Team leader, I thought you had run away already. Over here." To draw in Jong's attention, he kept taunting, "Look at me, you ugly monster. Run, you idiot." Hearing every word from the team leader's mouth, his face and gaze darkened to black. He held the wrench, doubting his earlier decision. "I could have run away alone. Captain N, I cannot bear to leave this fool behind. In short, I cannot just let it go." Finally, the team leader made his decision. "My dear Dong-gu, I miss everyone. Anyway, I guess I'll die here." In front of him stood the enormous monster, the grotesque In-jong. "Everyone will understand me, right?" He thought the creature would rush in to attack, but instead, In-jong's eyes suddenly widened, staring ahead. It left behind the wounded Jew who sitting on the ground and quietly walked away. The team leader was drawn to his strange behavior. What is that? Countless questions filled his mind. What is it doing? Where is it going? Outside he screamed his lungs out, "Please, please just get out of here." In-jong did not argue, slowly moving toward a cargo container at the port, gripping it tightly with his 5 fingers. His strength focused entirely on his fingertips, leaving deep marks on the steel surface of the container. In just 2 or 3 seconds, the enormous container was lifted cleanly into the air by In-jong. The team leader was stunned, his instincts telling him that something unsafe was about to happen. What is it doing? Indeed, it turned out he was not leaving but searching for a weapon. The container was aimed straight at the team leader. Now he was like a tiny ant, face to face with a container weighing hundreds of tons approaching fast. The speed was like the wind. The team leader froze in place, unable to resist, ready to meet his ancestors. Another surprise came from afar. After much effort, Im-kang finally arrived at the port. Using all his strength, he dashed toward the container and the small man beneath it. Im-kang raised his leg high. delivering a kick infused with a bit of internal energy. With another kick, he sent the massive container weighing several hundred tons flying high into the sky. The team leader, hiding under Im Kang's shadow, stood wide-eyed and petrified. Tears of happiness streamed down his face, grateful to be saved by his benefactor. After finishing, Im Kang spread his legs, bent his body slightly, and landed safely. His hand touched the ground for support, his cold eyes staring forward. All three people around were stunned for a few seconds by Im Kang's sudden appearance. In-jong stood frozen, seemingly unsure how to deal with him. Standing before the team leader to protect him, Im Kang lifted a handful of dirt and stones from the ground, praising generously, "Old man, 1 billion points for your bravery." Back to the battle, Im Kang stood straight. Ju Rai on the other end spoke up. "It seems I am too nervous, aren't you shaking? Kang, are you listening, right?" In-jong still stood there, neither attacking nor defending, his eyes full of schemes. He quickly adjusted the earphones slightly and asked him, "Ju Rai, how do you want me to speak?" Listening to the question, Ju Rai, relying on the camera on Im Kang's helmet to observe, "It looks disgusting." From there through the screen, sitting on the chair looking at that disgusting appearance, Ju Rai remembered, "That's right, a bit hard, but we must try to know." His eyes narrowed, his head flashed through a series of possible events before the fight. Searching back the memory of the past, when Ju Rai taught Im Kang, usually before fighting, try talking to it first. Those who kill people recklessly, we should kill them immediately. He even tied both hands together as an example. But if you confront them with words, you might ask their purpose or reason for doing so. Ju Rai's voice kept echoing in his head, "Isn't it a waste compared to killing them?" Back to reality, the plan started. Im Kang spoke to In-jong. "Hey, can you talk?" He stood facing him, pointing as he recalled previous battles. "I have fought guys like you several times before, if you can understand what I say." From In-jong's mouth came snorting sounds, making Im Kang and Ju Rai on the other end astonished. It turned out he was not that bad, still understood and even answered with creepy sounds. In-jong's face changed clearly, his eyes wide open, sharp teeth bared. His filthy words came out. His huge, veiny foot dug deep into the ground like a tree root. In an instant, In-jong turned into a beast, raising his hand and striking fiercely. An earth-shaking impact occurred where Im Kang was standing. The ground collapsed. Fortunately, he was quick, jumped up, lifted his leg high, escaping danger within a split second. When he was safe, Im Kang hovered in the air, his gaze full of disdain toward him. Seeing Im Kang no longer on the ground, In-jong raised his head to search around. When he saw Im Kang's figure, he clung on like a leech, continuing to madly rush forward as if wanting to devour him alive. But it was too late to counterattack. He was thrown into immobility. A kick from In-jong sent him flying. Im Kang could only curl his body, slamming half his torso hard against that sturdy cargo container. Despite the pain, his gaze remained cold, maintaining his composed demeanor. Quickly, Im Kang shook his body free and moved away from that 100-ton container. He sprang a few times and in an instant stood facing the fierce. Bending slightly to the ground, Im Kang praised him. "What the hell, you look like that, but you are pretty nimble." On the other end, Ju Rai was unbearably worried. "Are you okay?" The question did not get much attention from him. It was a mistake to talk to it. Emotions exploded. He cried out pleading, "It is acting all brash. Please do not let me see you get humiliated like that." In the sky at that moment, a helicopter tore through the clouds hovering above. The door opened, Yu-na representing the reporters holding a mic. "Yes, we are currently at Incheon Port." Despite the constant wind, she kept delivering the report to ensure safety and quickly convey news about Lee and Jong to everyone. "We are filming at an altitude of 600 m above sea level." Below the helicopter was the figure Im Kang kneeling on the ground. The scene was chaotic. The white-helmeted hero had appeared. Lowering her head slightly, Yu-na also updated a soft fluff news item, and the suppression forces against Lee and Jong had also arrived. At the port now, divisions with advanced equipment had appeared preparing to capture Injong. The colonel leading the ranks ordered his subordinates not to slack in defense, be ready and await orders, absolutely no shooting. A soldier holding a gun reported the situation to his colonel. Because the port entrance is narrow, the armored vehicles and electrified units cannot enter. Looking at you and him from afar, the colonel ordered, "All right, have them wait for orders behind." Jayu hugged his gun, looking at him bewildered. However, if we want to implement Plan A, his question made the colonel slightly startled. "Well, I do not know." His face beaded with sweat. He looked into the distance. "You still do not fully know Li Injong's true power. That is not something we can solve with diplomacy." Im Kang's silhouette was full of authority comparable to his squad's strength according to analysis of the clashes by the white-helmeted team at the Special Information Unit up to now. The strength of that guy was judged to be superior even to the basic firepower our army possesses. The colonel furrowed his brow slightly, his pupils dilating continuously. Li Injong and that person were comparable. If the image of him, Tijayu, you and Injong facing each other, suppose that guy is defeated. Actually, we do not know whether there will be a resolution or not. With an uneasy feeling, he looked toward his commander, continuously urging, "So why are we still waiting?" In the dark corner of the truck, a muscular young man bent down awaiting orders. "We have Plan B." On Im Kang's side, he also noticed the reporters filming, raising his head to look at the helicopter above. Though not watching directly in the city, people were still able to see through the screen. The scene was extremely tense, not very clear but still visible. The fierce battle between him and Injong kept being broadcast. The white-helmeted hero was doing everything he could to fight Li Injong. Blending into the crowd, Mu He listened in bewilderment to the news. "He is behind that mask, but we are seeing him fight for humanity and for us." In the billiard hall at that moment, the students Chang Ryle and Di Bang were also listening to the report. Right now he is trying to push back Li Injong. Returning to that terrifying battle, Im Kang dashed forward like lightning, Injong following closely behind. As he moved, his mind raced, calculating the monster's weak points. It was incredibly fast, far different from its appearance. But before he could react, a sudden punch from Injong came straight at his face. The monster slammed his fist into a cargo container, trying to crush Im Kang against it. Unexpectedly, Im Kang's reflexes were sharp, and in an instant he had escaped to a safe distance from Injong. Now it was time for Im Kang to counterattack. From above he dove down, his speed like an arrow. His hands moved continuously, clenching into the most powerful fist possible. Below, Injong suddenly puckered his lips, his cheeks swelling unnaturally. Pressing his chest against the container, he spewed out a strange green substance. The slimy rope like liquid shot up, brushing close to Im Kang's face within seconds. Once again, Im Kang was forced into defense, twisting his body to avoid touching the grotesque material. He lost balance, his body drifting uncontrollably in the air. "Damn it, I lost my center of gravity." Without realizing, his leg was grabbed tightly by Injong's massive hand. With his sharp teeth showing, the monster gripped his leg, pulling back with force. "Die, you bastard." Im Kang's expression darkened as his body was hurled forward, his eyes burning red. He became like a puppet, thrown violently to the ground, creating a massive crater. Finally, Im Kang landed inside the thick metal container, forming a deep hole. As the smoke cleared, his figure did not appear. Ju Rai on the other end panicked. Kang, while Injong seemed amused, his skin returning to normal. Watching from afar, Tijayu nervously asked his commander for instructions. The white-helmeted man, "Colonel." The colonel froze, frowning in disbelief. No way he was defeated like that. His face darkened, eyes sharp as he looked down. "Our mission now has no other choice. We must rely on his help." After hesitating for a while, he calmed himself and gave the order, "B." As soon as he spoke, the nearby military truck began to move. The doors suddenly swung open. From inside, an elite soldier appeared, his face completely expressionless. Not just one, but an entire team of snipers emerged one after another. With muscular arms, one of them raised a heavy cannon high. B was ready. He gripped his weapon tightly, aiming carefully while waiting for the colonel's command. With a pull of the trigger, B's gun recoiled violently, pushing him backward. A sharp bullet shot forward at incredible speed, its target locked. In-jong sensed danger, turning his head quickly. But it was too late. The bullet pierced straight through the vile brain filled with schemes of In-jong. He fell to the ground, unconscious before everyone's eyes. From behind the scope, B's eyes were bloodshot, while the colonel widened his eyes in praise, a direct hit. Before they could celebrate, In-jong's enormous legs suddenly twitched, stomping the ground hard. The impossible scene unfolding turned their joy into horror. Indeed, he was not dead. Witnessing the entire incident, the colonel broke into a sweat, muttering nonstop, "It's here." To keep the creature from attacking, B on this side took the initiative to open fire, shooting continuously. The copper bullet appeared once again, its destructive power immense, tearing through the air at incredible speed. It struck directly into In-jong's head, but it seemed to have no effect on him. B did not lose heart. He reloaded and fired several more rounds of attack. He kept changing his shooting stance, trying every way possible to eliminate In-jong quickly. However, it seemed that the monster remained unharmed. No matter how many bullets struck its body, it recovered instantly. Shell casings piled up around B, and he seemed to lose control, shooting wildly. In-jong was the same, dodging constantly while calmly walking forward. Within seconds, he stood tall right in front of B, his head covered in scratches from the bullet barrage. Even so, B showed no fear, pulling the trigger and reloading continuously. His eyes moved swiftly back to the scope, readying for the next sniper shot. As his eye met the sight, B's pupils suddenly widened, as if he saw something unexpected. He froze mid-action, pulling away from the scope and looking forward. B's strange behavior caught the attention of the massive In-jong standing before him. The creature quickly turned its head to look, its eyes also widening without realizing it. Just a few meters away from In-jong, something was moving inside the dark hole from before. It was getting closer and closer, its silhouette slowly becoming clear. None other than Im-kang appeared, his hand gripping the edge of the heavily damaged container. He limped out through the smoke, muttering constantly, "Thank goodness I got thrown in here. I almost flew straight into the sea." Seeing that Im-kang was safe, Ju-rai froze for a few seconds in shock. Kang. Regaining composure, he lowered his head and exhaled deeply, trying to calm his emotions. Sitting back in his chair with arms crossed, Ju-rai stared at the screen. "Thank goodness, anyway, Kang. This time that guy made a mistake. He can't say anything now, otherwise it wouldn't be so vague." Listening to Ju-rai's analysis, Im-kang adjusted his shoulder slightly and agreed, "That's right, I think so too." With a cold expression, Im-kang took long strides forward. "It's just, I don't know how to deal with him." In-jong stood frozen, his deep eyes fixed on every step Im-kang took from afar. Just a few meters away from him, Im-kang suddenly lifted his head and said something strange, giving it his all. He instinctively planted one foot on the ground, while the other kicked hard forward. He spun once, as if performing a magic trick that made him vanish from In-jong's sight. The maneuver Im-kang pulled off made the creature's eyes widen in shock and confusion. But before he could react further, Im-kang appeared from above, delivering a fierce kick to the top of In-jong's head. The blow crushed the scheming brain inside his skull. Not stopping there, Im-kang spread his hand wide and thrust it forward with force. His hand, sharp as a hook, coldly dug straight into In-jong's mouth. The fish had taken the bait. Im-kang swiftly pulled his arm back, dragging the blood-filled monster along. His inner power was so intense that the ground beneath his feet seemed to cave in. In an instant, Im-kang lifted In-jong's massive body effortlessly into the air, then slowly brought him down again, head and face first, drenched in fresh blood. It seemed Im-kang had exerted tremendous power, his neck veins bulging visibly. Finally, In-jong was smashed hard into the ground, utterly defeated. The impact was like a gas explosion, rocks shattering and smoke rising high into the sky. The force threw the colonel, soldiers, and even the helicopter several meters away. After a long moment, the smoke began to clear, and sunlight once again returned to the harbor. On the ground, In-jong's head was buried deep in the dirt, his legs sticking up in the air. Seeing his enemy defeated, Im-kang staggered away from the unpleasant spot. Through the reporter's broadcast, the news spread across the city. Mu-hee watched in astonishment. Chang Ryle and D-bang were the same, mouths agape, eyes wide open, shocked and unable to believe the power of the white-hooded hero. At the scene, the colonel and his soldiers stood dumbfounded, their faces blank. Yuna, too, was stunned, struggling to hold the microphone steady in her trembling hand. The most silent of all was Ju-rai, still unable to comprehend the turn of events. B stood outside, his blood-red eyes fixed on Im-kang's silhouette without blinking once. Suddenly remembering her role, Yuna quickly gripped the mic again, saying, "Right now, we can't see clearly, but there's been a massive shockwave." But before she could say more, she noticed something below. What? Im-kang, sharp as ever, also sensed something wrong. It turned out that in Jong's position, he wasn't dead yet, still thrashing violently. His legs kept moving, as if trying to gain leverage to escape. Both hands slammed into the ground, and in a blink, he pulled his head free from the gritty rubble. With his blood-soaked face, In-jong gave a faint, eerie smile toward Im-kang. His return left both Im-kang and Ju-rai on the other end of the line in shock. But it seemed their fears were unnecessary. In-jong had completely lost his strength and shut his eyes immediately. His massive body crashed heavily to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Im-kang didn't blink, staring straight ahead through the haze without moving. His anxiety was finally relieved. It's over right, it will not get up again, damn. At Ju-rai's request, he approached In-jong to probe. It will die soon. I see its head is already smashed to pieces. Standing in a challenging pose, Im-kang spoke proudly. If it gets up I will beat it to death, and then it will stop. Suddenly, he recalled the past, the glorious battle similar to this. But this one will not grow strong like the one we faced at Anmyeon Gyeongbo. Ju-rai heard Im-kang's provocative lines and immediately remembered Anmyeon. Right back then, Kang suffered so much. Their conversation was interrupted by an unknown person standing on a high container. This battle is really one to just sit and watch. Nan Kai squatted there, eyes gleaming with pleasure as he looked down, just as rumored, truly a cruel one. Beside him stood a woman with a covered head, even without using full strength. Right. Without hesitation, her eyes darkened and her face turned black. She was silent for a long time. Dan Yong. Regardless of Dan Yong, Nan Kai leaped up, strode across with long steps, and must stop by for a moment. He sprang and quickly appeared, standing behind Im-kang for a few seconds. He was suddenly pressed close and could not hide his curiosity. He turned his head to look. Before him was silver hair tied as neatly as possible. Nan Kai smiled, making Ju-rai on the other end uncomfortable. What the hell, that guy? Not wanting to waste time, Im-kang went straight to the main question. Who are you? His question excited him. He smiled without restraint. Raising his grotesque appearance, Nan Kai limped forward step by step, making Ju-rai uneasy. What is that bastard doing? The two faced each other with no words exchanged. Only the man on the other end wondered, where on earth did he jump out from? With keen senses, Im-kang looked straight at him but still felt something. He quickly looked up toward the height where Dan Yong sat alone. A strange figure had appeared. Im-kang immediately reported to Ju-rai over the radio. There is another one up there. Ju-rai. What? Standing proudly on that high steel beam, she remained calm, unaware. Back to the reporter, the news kept updating. Something strange was happening. She gripped the helicopter door tightly, continuously reporting live. Right now in front of the white-helmeted hero who subdued Lee In-jong, a suspicious man has appeared. The engine noise above caught Nan Kai's attention. He raised his head with implication. In the city, blending with the crowd, Mu-hee listened to each piece of information. It seemed they were saying something. We cannot catch the content of the conversation. Chang Ryle, holding his cue, urged his friends nearby. What is that? Hurry up, damn it. Another fight again. Back at the harbor, the colonel stood stunned. The soldiers beside him shouted, Colonel, Colonel. Tijayu's face was sweaty with worry, endlessly curious. What on earth is happening? But only received a shake of the head from the colonel. I do not know either. Digging into his subconscious, standing next to Sniper B, he recounted. A person whose presence we did not know about. Clearly an unforeseeable situation. But there is nothing we cannot handle. Do not let your guard down until the white-helmeted man leaves the position. Obey orders. The conversation from both sides was gripped in his hand. Yet he remained silently observant. Not wanting to dally, Nan Kai flashed a horrific smile. What a pity, the ending is so bland. He lifted his head, his eyes darkened as he said, but interesting, a battle worth watching, like Ketchup Man or something. The strange character Nan Kai mentioned froze Im Kang for a few seconds. Ketchup Man? He quickly asked Ju Rai for help, pressing his mouth close to the earpiece, flushed. What? In what way am I like Ketchup Man? The man on this side blushed with anger. Oh God, is that guy jealous? Sitting in the enclosed room, Ju Rai slammed his hand onto the table in anger. Kang, I said you are not good at praise. Hey Im Kang, this is not the time to be happy. Get a hold of yourself. That guy is exactly that. We must observe where he came from. Though reminded, Im Kang was still quite. Ju Rai frowned, his sharp human reading eyes confirmed. Kang's people reading skill is not yet practiced, but my eye cannot be wrong. He examined Nan Kai's dangerous demeanor and was certain. This guy is clearly dangerous, yet he claimed otherwise, a man not dangerous at all. Nan Kai put on a feigned innocent face, spoke sweetly to him. I came to watch you, to ride the broadcast wave. He recalled the moment when Im Kang sat arrogantly on top of Injong, the information portal, up to the scene where he landed a heavy blow to his stomach. The personal broadcast. Those consecutive punches carried lethal power, and if information about Lee and Zhong were posted, he would never appear again. Mentioning this, Nan Kai smiled brightly until his eyes narrowed. Today, because I had something to do, I came here. He straightened up, spread his legs wide toward him. I just wanted to see your fight. From the very beginning, I didn't come to find you, even if you didn't do anything. Im Kang looked innocent and doubtful. How can I believe that? A question that only received a savage smile from Nan Kai's position. On the other end, recalling a memory, Ju Rai reminded him, Kang, listen carefully. Remember the time, those men in suits you met in Samcheok before. The moment those men in black suits advanced step by step with guns to control Im Kang, approaching with friendly intent and then pointing a taser at him, that day Di Itak also appeared like today. Connecting the dots, his mind raced, face darkened. Now it's similar. Maybe he's someone from the government side, or could be from the military. Since we don't know his purpose, you must find a way to get out of there. Ju Rai's reminder left Im Kang dazed, standing motionless. To ease his suspicion, after a moment of thought, Nan Kai spoke. Fine then, it seems you're feeling uncomfortable, so let's have a more interesting talk. Standing face to face, Nan Kai didn't hesitate to ask about Im Kang's title. In second, what are you called? Childishly and innocently, he said loudly how people called him superhero. After knowing the title, it was his turn to declare, then I am also a superhero, making both of them widen their eyes in shock. What? Nan Kai closed his eyes tightly, his voice continuously evoking other forces, and moreover, except for you and me. Those humans with enormous power, still immersing themselves in the shadows, people with superior abilities, people with extraordinary strength beyond imagination. Listening to the story from his mouth, Im Kang was unusually silent, hard to guess his next move. Through the screen, Ju Rai's face was drenched in sweat as he thought. I see, I've guessed part of it already, because I've also grasped the background of the two from America and Europe. His eyes carried both fear and anger mixed together. South Korea has not yet been disclosed, but that a person sat quietly on a chair, silently watching the conversation through the screen. Who is that strange man? Just by looking you can tell he's not an ordinary person. Is the man in the white hat a famous one? Ben quickly removed his headset and looked at the person standing behind him. Peel, don't you see that things are getting strange? She lowered her voice and said, that man, I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. Staring at the screen, the curious thought made him wonder, the man in the white hat, he's famous, isn't he? Peel shook her head in denial, not that one. She folded her arms, standing behind Ben's chair and vented, that annoying guy with the ponytail. Ben, can't you get the content of their conversation? Despite Peel's pleading, he was helpless. Sorry, I can't catch the content of their conversation either. I'm also curious about what they're saying. In Scotland, at an old and famous fast food restaurant, Burger King, Yoon-ha stood among the people buying food, her eyes fixed on the news screen. A girl hurriedly approached, seemingly of lower rank than her, tapping her watch and complaining, Sis, hey sis, what are you doing there? Let's go quickly. What time is it? We agreed to go together and already bought tickets for Justin Bieber's concert. Remember, really? The rush made Yoon-ha embarrassed. She covered her mouth and laughed it off. Since when did I do that? You're so sly. Let's go quickly. In Moscow, inside a magnificent mansion with a vast, endless courtyard. In the middle of the grand living room, two men in suits stared at the news screen. Vavilov, do you know that person? It's my first time seeing him. Vavilov's face revealed clear anger, gritting his teeth with veins popping out. From what I see, he seems like a superhero. That, I don't know either, but isn't his appearance too reckless? Beside him, Jung Myeon agreed with the opinion, yes, indeed, not a very good impression. Back at Incheon Port, Im Kang's face showed no emotion as he loudly asked, so what? Standing not far from Nan Kai, he expressed his personal opinion, even if you are a superhero, I don't care, so stop following me. As soon as he finished speaking, Im Kang quietly turned around, leaving behind the annoyance that man brought. Nan Kai was taken aback by his attitude, then laughed, thinking something urgent was happening, but Im Kang answered innocently, I'm hungry. Without stopping him, Nan Kai closed his eyes and told him, fine then, I'll come to your school. Let's talk about the rest there. A sentence that sounded like a joke made Im Kang freeze in place, motionless. His eyes showed surprise mixed with anxiety about his identity. Trying to stay calm, eyes wide open, Im Kang stammered and asked him, what did you just say? Closing his eyes tightly, Nan Kai slowly said each word, what, you? The next sentence from him instantly turned Im Kang to stone. You're a student, aren't you, when you take off the mask? Im Kang fell into deep doubt for a long while, then mumbled, what? On the other hand, Ju Rai was also surprised when his identity was known by that guy. How did he know that? Understanding the words that hit Im Kang's dark heart, Ju Rai immediately reassured him, looking at him seeming panicked, do not worry, because I will keep the secret. Standing upright, he looked at him and requested, tell the pink-haired guy who is contacting you by headset. I am a bit private, so do not worry too much. As soon as the words finished, two pairs of eyes widened from him and you, even me. Nan Kai began to recall, when Ju Rai started building devices, the pink-haired guy is not an ordinary guy. He worked diligently and creatively day and night in the room crafting, from the mask to the tiny camera you are using. Shortly after, he produced a perfect covert recording and listening device, an interesting genius. In that time, wherever Ju Rai went, Nan Kai followed and watched. I wanted to kidnap him but endured. Returning to reality, the next words he declared made the man on this end freeze. You wear the white helmet. I will play with your friend while you go to school and are not nearby. Ju Rai's face was sweating profusely as he heard the harsh news. This bastard, how much does he actually know? Seeing the silence too heavy, Nan Kai burst out laughing and asked, what is it? His arrogance made Im Kang uncomfortable. He frowned and said, you joke too much. The atmosphere has changed. He quickly lifted his heels slightly off the ground into a new stance. Not good. In Kang's hands started activating, his wrists rotating. People like him are called superheroes, right? Seeing his state, Nan Kai immediately understood and shouted a warning. Are you going to fight? Kang, wait, not now. The opponent, Ju Rai. Raising a hand to his chest, In Kang emphasized each word. Ju Rai is like family to me. I will make him never loiter around again. His firm declaration surprised him and Dan Yang a little at that closeness. Nan Kai raised his arm, started up a bit and said, that is indeed a beautiful friendship. He gave him one last chance, smiling gently reminding, I am not your enemy, I have no ill intent, so let us continue talking. But receiving a curt reply from Im Kang, no need. From afar his attitude made Ju Rai startled. Kang, seeing sweet words did not convince him. Nan Kai decided, is that so? You are being stubborn? Then there is no choice but to fight. Before he could defend, Im Kang had already lifted his toes off the ground. He drew like a bow, moving fast, tearing through the wind, and dove down. Through his homemade device, he was stunned by Im Kang's action. Nan Kai was not very surprised. He stood still watching the situation. The colonel outside saw his haste and clicked his tongue. What? Why suddenly fight? As for Sniper B, he said nothing, only secretly watching everything. In a flash, Im Kang with a giant fist approached his face. Now Nan Kai counterattacked, spreading both palms and thrusting them forward. The two advanced, one punching and one blocking, neither yielding. It seemed his power had been neutralized by him. No movement at all. Im Kang was a bit surprised, his eyes wide looking at the opposing enemy. His arm trembled violently, while Nan Kai's hand seemed hardly affected. Seeing the power of his friend's signature punch nullified, Ju Rai froze Kang's fist. The two faced each other, his arm now powerless, trembling in waves. To avoid being passive, he quickly whipped his hand strongly to knock his hand off him. Then Im Kang continued swinging his fist to attack once more. As if someone had vanished, his eyes widened in astonishment. Not there. A voice echoed. Nan Kai was standing on Im Kang's hand. You are truly a cold person. You charged in like you wanted to kill me. As soon as the words ended, Nan Kai immediately gathered his energy, kicking away from Im Kang's arm. In an instant, he bent his knees, standing on the ground, his eyes directed toward him, thinking everything was over. But no, Nan Kai kept provoking. Continue if you want to fight. He proudly announced that far away was Dan Yang. No need to hold back against me. You must be mistaken because you are too friendly in battle. Without stopping at words, Nan Kai moved step by step, as if probing Im Kang. I already told you, I am also a hero like you. His expression began to change. A bright red color filled his eyes. If you do not want to die, come when you are ready. Nan Kai, with his face and neck covered in green veins, spoke coldly. But if we start now, there will be no way I will be defeated by you. He gritted his teeth, eyes tightly closed, declaring, until everything is leveled, I will not be defeated. Im Kang stood there, listening to every word, staying silent for quite a while. Knowing his friend seemed upset, Ju Rai kept calming him down. Kang, you have to stay calm. What he said is not wrong. It is not about winning or losing. It will not be good if you fight now. He quickly reminded him, when Im Kang and Nan Kai met earlier, appearing so suddenly, he was trying to provoke us. I am also annoyed, but... At that moment, Kang had fallen into silence, his eyes closed. Listen to me and get out of there. Do not fight now. Seeing Im Kang seem to cooperate, Ju Rai hastily voiced his suggestion. If he really is a hero, then you have never faced another hero before. We must avoid this situation and need time to think. We cannot believe his words, that he is not our enemy. Watching Kang's expression from afar, Nan Kai seemed the most confused, scratching his head repeatedly. He thought Im Kang did not want to fight anymore and smiled with relief. You understand now. I see you no longer want to fight. Nan Kai waved his hand lightly, saying his last words, we will meet again. Let's talk then. He had not yet lifted his foot to leave when Kang's voice stopped him. Wait. Clenching his fist tightly, Im Kang kept demanding Nan Kai's identity. State your name. If you do not, I will not let you go. But before the man could speak, Kang spoke first. I am Im Kang. Seeing that, a faint smile appeared on Nan Kai's lips, filled with hidden meaning. Turning his back to leave, he did not hide his identity and introduced himself. Nan Kai. After only a few steps, from above, the mysterious figure, Dan Young, appeared. Seeing her, Nan Kai urged, "Done talking, let's go." Dan Young? But she kept insisting, "Let me see your hand." Here, the hand that bore the impact was now glowing red, seemingly greatly affected. But he still forced a smile, his voice calm as he reassured her, "It is not that bad." In an instant, the two used their inner power and vanished before Im Kang's eyes. "Let's go." Dan Yang. Leaving Kang and Ju Rai standing still, their helmet device recording everything. Gone already? Now, amid the roaring waves at the harbor, only Im Kang stood still in one corner, lost in thought. Back at Ben's location, he looked at the screen and complained, "Gone already? I thought it would be interesting, but it ended so dull." Only Peel and Withrow stayed strangely silent, faint smiles forming as they pondered. Similarly, in the luxurious mansion, Vavilov and Jung Myeon looked disappointed when the battle ended. "What? It's over?" "I think so." "What do you mean you think so? We were looking forward to it." Jung Myeon stood in front, head held high, eyes thoughtful. "At first I wondered why the white-helmeted man charged in to attack. But if they fought, perhaps the area would become a wasteland. If dragged into battle, many would die or be injured. That is my premonition, but the two reconsidered and did not fight. Damn those boring guys. It's not like they love each other." Returning to the place, where the port was filled with fierce fighting earlier, there. Im Kang had just turned to leave when two voices stopped him. It turned out to be the two workers from earlier. The team leader and Chun Seo appeared. The two of them were covered in injuries, speaking words of gratitude to him. "Wait, we want to say thank you. That is, thank you." Im Kang was still bewildered, eyes wide staring at them. Without hesitation, the team leader remembered. "When you countered and kicked at In Jong, thanks to you we survived." Im Kang was the one who had stood up to protect the team leader in the crisis. "You must repay this favor." Suddenly, a few meters away, B lowered his tone and spoke to him. "Colonel, the problem is not the shape or weight of the warhead. Even if we change the material of the propellant, it would be similar." His attitude surprised the colonel a bit, muttering, "B." The shell casings were hastily held in B's hand as he analyzed. "We created bazooka and armor-piercing rounds of the strongest caliber. But besides that, this bazooka has no difference compared to a normal sniper rifle." Anger erupted. He clenched his hand, squeezing the shell casings inside. "With toys like this nothing can be done. If not renewed, people will die in vain." Not stopping there, B raised his fist as if to imply for the colonel to understand immediately. "I understand. I will pass this on to the research department." Deeduk. Having obtained a satisfactory answer, B relaxed his hand. The shell casings fell to the ground. The colonel thought matters were settled. However, a sound rang out, making him panic. Hastily putting his hand into his breast pocket, the colonel searched and pulled something out. It turned out to be the sound of a phone. He quickly looked at the caller ID. It seemed the caller was of high rank, making the colonel very cautious. "Yes, sir." "Command, what is the situation?" "Yes." The other end led to the room of a high-ranking man. Now the white-helmeted man has left position. According to reports, Lee and Jong was subdued by the white-helmeted man. He gripped the phone, chiding the colonel word by word. "Colonel, why did I have to contact you first? I told you if it ended you must report immediately." Biko Jin, Supreme Commander of the Lee and Jong response team. The reprimand made him panic. No, sir, I was just about to." "Sorry, Commander." Oh Jin nodded slightly. Eyes cold, he continued. "From now on listen clearly. Yes, as said before, moving Lee and Jong's body is most important. Understood?" His voice kept echoing through the luxurious room filled with authority. "The Central Administrative Bureau, National Institute of Scientific Investigation, Damage Control Division. We acted first, so don't worry and just follow the plan." Just make sure the body is safely delivered to aircraft 101. Do you understand? At the port, the enormous body of In-jong had been neatly placed on the military transport aircraft. Understood, it just fit. The plane has arrived. We are now loading the body. While reminding his subordinates, Oh-jin also dialed someone on the office phone. Once the body is taken away, we will no longer have jurisdiction. Colonel, if you withdraw your troops immediately, then... Finally, the conversation ended. He sighed heavily in frustration. In the powerful room, a number was dialed. Oh-jin quickly picked up the phone. The ringing echoed. He grew anxious. Is there another issue? Holding the receiver to his ear, Oh-jin reported the situation. Not that, sir. I want to report that the body of Lee In-jong has been dealt with. He also detailed the casualty numbers after the battle. Approximately 14 injured, 2 seriously. But before he could continue, he was interrupted. No, wait. A man in a black suit said, "We have nothing to do with that. What's wrong with you?" I was going to give a detailed report. Just say the key point quickly. Fearing the superior's anger, Oh-jin continued. The aircraft carrying the body had departed for the Falcon area. The mysterious man asked loudly, "When will it arrive?" The question barely ended before Oh-jin answered immediately, "Tomorrow night, sir. And in addition, one special detail." After a moment of calculation, a subordinate nearby reported, "The time has come, sir." Hearing that, the old man waved his hand signaling his men. "We must go outside. Let's see. I have a speech to give. I know. Hang up the phone." Holding the phone to his ear, Markers issued his final warning. "And I warn you, stop talking nonsense to me. This is the final warning. Do you understand? Sorry, Commander." Seeing the matter concluded, he adjusted his tie one last time. These guys, handpicked, yet they have no idea what they're saying. Even so, when standing before those ants, we must act wisely. Then, Markers clenched his fist, coughed several times to steady himself. He hurriedly stepped out from backstage to the grand stage. "Oh, he's here, Markers." Markers stood in the packed hall, smiling brightly as he spoke. The hope of a new generation, Markers, the leader of the future reform and the realization of peace. After a while of speaking, as he raised his hand to greet the audience, the host loudly announced his name. "Please welcome everyone, Gerald Markers." Back at the scene of In-jong's body, Incheon Port, the transport aircraft doors were closing. Beside it, those assigned to assist the flight completed the loading of Lee In-jong's body. "The plane has taken off. Everyone, let's leave." Everything went smoothly. The aircraft engines roared, ascending rapidly, departing right after loading the body. Jae looked up in confusion. "Colonel, aircraft 101. Seeing his subordinate's question, the colonel recalled and replied, "I think it's D.E. Tuck's aircraft." As the transport plane flew farther away, not wanting to dwell on it, he said, "Never mind, we don't need to pay attention to it." Not far away, Nan Kai hid behind a cargo crate, observing the transport aircraft escorting In-jong's body. He folded his arms, glancing at Dan Yang standing behind, as expected, heading toward Falcon. The hand wearing a blue glove aimed straight at its target and lunged forward. A decisive attack came from Ketchup Man as he gripped the monster's throat tightly. While torturing him, he lowered his face and asked one last time, "I will ask you one final question. Remember that your life depends on your answer. Where Sherlock's headquarters, I will go there myself and destroy him." With white foam at his mouth, the monster struggled frantically. "Stop. You have to let me go so I can speak." Hearing the demand, Ketchup Man's face showed clear irritation. Gritting his teeth, he emphasized, "Trash like you. Even if given a chance, it would make no difference." Not wanting to let the monster gain the upper hand, he angrily threw him backward. "I will talk. People like you still talk about morality." The monster looked dazed, thrown by Ketchup Man's strength, and then fell freely. His entire body hit the ground, causing a terrifying explosion and a cloud of thick smoke. As the smoke slowly cleared, his gaunt face and exhausted figure appeared, not allowing the monster to live. From above, Ketchup Man transformed his stance into that of a flying arrow and dove down. He opened his palm, clenched it into a firm, compact fist, filled with indomitable will. The fist drew closer and closer, smoke billowing around him. Hero smash. Just like that, the collision occurred, the monster taking the full force of his divine punch. Spare me, spare me. The monster clamped his mouth shut, but blood still gushed uncontrollably. Face to face, Ketchup Man stayed silent, observing the pitiful creature. With blood from the monster still on his lips, he muttered, "Don't you dare pull any tricks." Hero Smash didn't even use 1/10 of his strength. Ketchup Man raised his head high, veins bulging across his face, and declared, "I could save your life. Tell Sherlock this. Tell him that as long as I am here, no one can threaten this planet." Outside, all the citizens stood wide-eyed, mouths agape, praising him. He won. Hero Smash. It really is Smash. Amazing. Look at that heroic stance. It didn't stop there. Reporters were also on the scene, broadcasting live. At this moment, in downtown New York, the battle between Hero Smash and the monster has ended. Finally, the monster's disturbances have been subdued with the appearance of Hero Smash. "Spare me. Shut up. I've changed my mind. Indeed, Smash is the hope of this planet." The female reporter held her microphone and emphasized each word of this era, Hero Smash. Ketchup Man, with a proud expression, lifted his chin as the wind blew his hair dramatically. Hero, true hero. He flexed his arms slightly, bringing it toward his face, radiating immense strength. A familiar pose for bodybuilders was repeated by Ketchup Man. Hero Smash. That very gesture marked the end of today's program, soft music playing in the background. On the TV screen, the next episode's preview appeared. Hero Smash the Indomitable, next week, in the blink of an eye. When the planet faces danger, the music played faintly. He will appear in a moment, sitting on the sofa. Kang, full of regret, must wait until next week. Sleeping soundly, Ju Rai was awakened by the noise. "What is it?" Seeing him awake, you turned back immediately. "Oh, you are awake." Ju Rai, still sleepy, propped his face with his hand and asked irritably, "Hey, you fought like that yesterday. Since morning, what is this Hero Smash?" Kang heard and lowered his head to reply, "Have to tune in to the broadcast." He was in high spirits. Handsome Face raised his head. "Today was great. Later, I watched the replay. Because of him, Hero Smash in New York." No, Kang went to the hospital. The more he thought, the angrier Kang became, clenching his arms tightly. Do I look like Smash? After all, where do I resemble him?" Nearby, Ju Rai sullenly reminded, "You have said that 100 times already. I will go back to sleep." Though sleepy, he remembered one problem, turned and asked him immediately, "Right, today is not your day off." Kang froze a little, mouth stammering, "Huh, why are you only saying it now?" He ran like a horse, leaving Ju Rai bewildered. "I need a reason, huh? Because you forgot, that is why. Just defeated Lee and Zhang, how could you come straight to school?" Clothes were tossed everywhere by Kang. Seeing that, he immediately warned, "Kang, take it easy. It is not late yet." Despite being urged, he madly slammed the door and left the room, ignoring Ju Rai complaining, Hey, please close the door when you go. So annoying." At Sioyan School, the path to school was bustling with people. Suddenly, Kang stood blank, silently listening to something. "The white-helmeted man is the real deal. You have not watched the broadcast." It turned out the conversation of the two students in front had attracted him. Had thrown a punch like this. That braided hair guy just blocked it. "I watched it too. That is not real, is it? Damn." Shin Chun, holding his backpack strap, looked up thinking, "If so, what is it?" When you look at it, you feel the atmosphere drop right. This guy, even so, the white-helmeted man is still the best. Hearing his friend, Cheng Shin arrogantly said, "If those monsters appear, you would jump out and fight them, right? Then you close your house door and hide in your room. Do not judge others." Their quarrel was overheard by him as he passed. Why suddenly get angry with me? Do not curse the white-helmeted hero." Although a bit sad, Cheng Shin's next words calmed Kang down. "Apart from that person, no one can take Li and Zhong's life. The white-helmeted man is the hero." Who would have thought? Before his spirit could settle, he was hit by Shin Chun's harsh words. "Hero, my ass. Have you not heard anything? The white-helmeted man is a hypocrite in the military. Seeing his friend spouting nonsense, Cheng Xin left him. Say nonsense without basis. Im Kang hugged his sadness, quietly hurried away from the gossip. If I were the white-helmeted man, I would have beaten him to pulp already. Stop it. Do not talk nonsense about fighting when you cannot fight. Cheng Xin, still full of energy, teased his friend, tried hitting him, diving in and taking a punch, avoiding fighting. He laughed out loud, crazy bastard. But it seemed something was off. That punch hit the person behind. Damn. The guy widened his eyes and scolded him. What is this, you brat mean goo? Do you want to die if you try to hit him? Making Cheng Xin hang his head in panic. I am really sorry, truly sorry, I could die. Only Shin Chun knew the guy's background, bowing his head in fear. That bastard is obviously Cho T-Ik. Despite the pleading, T-Ik would not forgive. Damn, it had to start so early today. Make a scene, I am sorry. Fired up looking at the two clueless kids before him, T-Ik was startled and looked ahead. He craned his neck, his gaze fixed on Im Kang, not blinking even once. He lowered his voice, emphasizing each word as he asked the one facing him, Hey, are you staring at someone? It seemed Im Kang's brain had not fully processed the information. He stood dazed. Seeing his expression, T-Ik angrily asked again, You brat, look at him. You guys are crazy, not opening your eyes, huh? The information updated. Im Kang flustered, held his head and left. Sorry. It seemed his action killed T-Ik's interest. Stepping forward, he cursed. Damn, remember my face, especially you. Open your eyes or you'll get beaten. With that the guy left, leaving the three to observe. What a chaotic school. T-Ik's look made Shin Chun judge immediately. It's May and he's wearing a jacket. Crazy. The odd expression from him. That bastard didn't even bother to bring a bag. Anyway, we almost died, right Yuka? Cheng Xin approached bewildered. So, no, what about that bastard? Knowing his friend understood nothing, Shin Chun went pale and introduced, Have you heard of the Sword Gang? Hit by the sudden question, he stammered, I know of it, though not exactly. A grand white building where the gang resides. The Sword Gang was established in Mabingjong. The Sword Gang is a group of ruffians, but also very sharp. It gathers notorious members, a phrase that sparks fire. They are a group with outstanding talent. Cruel ones we cannot match or confront. I heard members of the Sword Gang study at Seoyan. Our school is newly built, so there are no Mentioning this, Shin Chun sweatily recalled T-Ik's role just now, and the name that just picked a fight with us was Cho T-Ik, the leader of that group. Cheng Xin heard all this, clutched his head, bit his lip hard. Damn, nonsense. Those trash guys all study at Seoyan. Why didn't I know? I usually sense this stuff well. Seeing him torment himself, Shin Chun reassured his friend. Not knowing is fine. Compared to Lee and Zhang's thing, it is nothing. The opening ceremony was late and many classes cancelled. That dumbass almost got beaten. Entering the school gate, he breathed a long sigh and suggested, Anyway, we should keep away from the Sword Gang. Yuka, we have to stay low to survive. In the main corridor leading to the meeting class, noise echoed, Hey Hong, Hong. Mu-hee was dozing, awoken by something, waking with a puffy face. She irritably lowered her voice and snapped, Damn, you startled me. Facing her was a friend who complained non-stop. I called you dozens of times already, idiot. You've been sleeping all morning. Jinju raised her hand toward Mu-hee's face. Are you going to keep making that face? Stop boxing. Seeing her lecturing attitude, she got angry. Why do you come to other people's class and spout nonsense? Are you my mother or what? Hearing that request, the girl fell utterly silent. Yo Jinju, Class 8 Year 1 Seoyan. The tense atmosphere was shattered when Im Kang walked in from outside. He lifted a chair and sat astride the desk, still clutching his bag to his chest. Im Kang suddenly seemed to remember something. His eyes widened as he looked at the person in front of him. Jinju smiled slightly, pointed straight at him and remembered. Your zipper is still open. She just walked away. I'm leaving. Your classmates are really cute. Leaving him flustered as he quickly zipped up. Oh my god, it's real. While Mu-hee rested her chin on her hand and sighed. Go quickly, and don't come here anymore. As Jinju brushed lightly past, Muhi, with her sharp sense of smell, immediately asked, "You smell like cigarettes." That startled Jinju. She turned back in panic. Staring ahead, Muhi emphasized every word. "Jinju, you don't suit that guy." But all she got back was Jinju's indifference and her fading silhouette. "Nonsense. You're not my mother either." Not wanting Muhi to set conditions, Jinju cleverly replied, "If you stop boxing, I'll think about it." That line made Muhi sigh helplessly, turning her eyes away. That idiot. Her expression showed clear surprise, seemingly shocked by what she saw. It turned out that Kang was still fumbling with that stubborn zipper. Oh my god, why? Why? Seriously, why? Too exhausted, Muhi rested her head on the desk and complained. "What an idiot, Hong Muhi, Class 3 Year 1 Seoyan." Seagulls spread their long wings, gliding gently over the water across a vast sea. Below, a boat drifted quietly along the ocean current, looking like a small fishing vessel in the western Pacific at sea. Suddenly, from the deep bottom of the ocean, a dark shadow silently rose up. As if sensing something, Chang Ho opened his eyes wide, changing his angle of view. Sitting at the edge of the boat, he peered down into a deep part of the sea, searching. Then something caught his eyes, leaving him utterly bewildered. What was that just now? A big question filled Chang Ho's mind as he stared at the dark shadow nearby. Without hesitation, he sprang up, gripping the side of the boat and looking toward the strange thing. What is that? 5 minutes earlier, on the side of the boat, a penguin-shaped plush toy was carefully wrapped in a sealed bag. Chang Ho held a fishing net in his hand, slowly stepping forward while wondering, what kind of doll is that? A penguin? Sang Jin, his capable assistant across from him, replied, "Yes, today is Ruby's birthday. I saw they were having a discount at the dock." As he hastily cast the net into the sea, Chang Ho asked in confusion, "If you want to give something to your little princess, shouldn't it be something cute? Why a penguin?" Resting his hand on the edge of the boat, he gazed into the distance and spoke softly with a hint of sadness. "I never told you this, but her dream is to go to Antarctica and see real penguins. That's why I decided to buy it for her. My daughter will definitely love it." The conversation between the two echoed through the air, drawing the attention of the flock of seagulls above. "You're planning to see your daughter today, right? My shift ends at noon, so I'll go straight home. Basically, I spend most of my life drifting at sea, so she might forget what her father looks like." After finishing the cast, Chang Ho looked toward Sang Jin. "Did your daughter say that to you herself?" Climbing the stairs quickly, he nodded. "Yes, my daughter talks a lot these days." Sitting down on the wooden deck, a wide smile appeared beneath his bucket hat. "She's growing up so fast, time really flies. You'll feel it more deeply as you watch your children grow day by day." Chang Ho's gaze drifted into the distance, filled with deep thoughts. "That's what I think about lately." Back in the control cabin, Sang Jin hesitated, a little dull, thinking about his daughter's age. Leaning against the side of the boat, Chang Ho reminded him, "Anyway, you should bring the penguin inside. Your gift might start to smell if it gets wet." At that very moment, something strange happened. A dark shadow lurked mysteriously on the ocean's surface. With the sharp eyes of a fisherman, Chang Ho noticed it immediately. He shifted slightly, peering toward the area where the mysterious shadow lingered. The strange creature made sweat pour down his face, confusion filling his mind. What was that just now? He quickly moved closer, staring carefully at the deep blue surface of the sea. Inside the cabin, holding the steering wheel, Sang Jin muttered to himself, "The penguin won't smell if I wrap it with an extra plastic layer. Anyway, my daughter will be so mad if I break my promise today." He didn't realize that outside, Chang Ho was standing up, facing imminent danger. What is that? At that instant, the sea suddenly bulged upward in a strange way. From within it, a hand with sharp claws tore through the thin layer of water and emerged. That bizarre thing was likely the cause of the hole that suddenly opened right in the center of the boat. Inside the cabin, the impact threw Sang Jin backward. He fell hard, confused. What just happened? Regaining his balance, he glanced outside through the cabin door. "Brother?" Right before his eyes, a greenish foot was crushing Chang Ho's body. That horrifying scene made his eyes bulge wide, veins straining. Brother. It turned out that the one behind Chang Ho's sudden death and the earlier collision was the mutant chameleon, An. Seoyan High School, Incheon. A beautiful morning, sunlight streamed softly across the campus. Approaching a classroom, the teacher was passionately lecturing his students. Recently, they have started appearing more frequently. This is already the third time since the beginning of the year. People's fear has grown worse than ever. He even carefully used chalk to draw their shapes on the board. They look something like this. Though the drawing was simple, it still depicted the monsters quite clearly. This is the threat humanity is currently facing. We never know when or where they will suddenly appear. Adjusting his glasses quickly and looking forward, the teacher spoke. That is why today we will talk a bit about these not human beings, the math teacher at Seoyan High School. Since last week you have studied too much from the textbooks already. Seeing their innocent, confused faces, Seo-yeon sighed in frustration. These kids, just hearing there's no studying makes them so happy. Anyway, I'm sure you already know about. As a teacher, he continued the story, an image of In-jong appeared. The not humans, as the name suggests, are a group of beings that do not belong to the human species. Seo-yeon continuously gave examples of his strength in the past, and according to what we know now, they possess incredible power, capable of destroying dump trucks or even tanks in the blink of an eye. He recalled the moment when In-jong chased after Im-kang and a worker, frowning in horror. Their movement speed reached 200 kilometers per hour, 125 miles per hour. They truly are super powerful monsters. Moreover, the fact is they mercilessly kill humans. The image of a grotesque monster bullying people appeared as Seo-yeon spoke. Unless you have directly encountered a not human, you cannot imagine how terrifying they really are. Not only in their country but also numerous major buildings have suffered. The Allied nations recently reported that in the past 5 years there have been a total of 37 cases of not humans appearing. The map now showed multiple high fatality zones, and so far, there have been a total of 517 deaths. Moo-hee rested her chin lightly on her hand, sighing as she listened to Seo-yeon speak. Among them, South Korea had a total of 6 cases. The moments when Im-kang faced In-jong had already gone down in history. If we include the recent Incheon port incident, that makes 7 cases. At that point, the teacher's face darkened, his hand resting on the desk as if mourning his people. That incident just yesterday, right, took the lives of 14 people, such a tragic disaster. But Seo-yeon soon regained his composure, holding the chalk as he drew the boy's portrait. Anyway, among those 7 cases, the white hat hero appeared and resolved 5 of them. Alone under the brim of his white hat, Im-kang made the monsters tremble. At Incheon Port, every time that so-called white hat hero appeared and crushed the creatures, his news spread across every paper and broadcast with that distinctive name. At first, there were only strange monsters, but now there is also a mysterious hero. With his appearance, countless theories and rumors have arisen. As he spoke, Seo-yeon circled Im-kang's figure with a red chalk, but all of it was baseless, and experts said that he remains a complete mystery. Regardless of what the teacher was lecturing about, he below had already sunk into sleep. The stories on both sides were equally mysterious and had no ending, and everyone began to place all their hopes on this mysterious man. On the podium, with his arms crossed, he frowned, but now a problem had arisen. There had been an incident before the white hat hero appeared. Seo-yeon recalled the case of the monster with corpses sprawled on the ground. The first incident that made the world wary of them, in Pohang 2015. According to news reports, 15 had lost their lives. It was no better than that. Half the body smashed, blood gushing. The corpses looked as if someone had flattened them. A truly mysterious case. Next was the once shocking appearance of In-jong, and a year later, in January 2016, the Gangneung tragedy occurred, where 75 people were killed and over 100 injured. Speaking of the dramatic moment, Seo-yeon frowned. He seemed quite fearful. The first monster could not be defeated. It had long, sharp horns, along with the nickname heptahorn, called that because it had 7 horns. It was the first monster to appear. Seo Yeon continued telling the story, using chalk to illustrate the long-haired hero. According to the accounts of some witnesses, when humanity was falling like wheat, a large man with long hair entered the fray and fought against heptahorn. The battle was frenzied. Finally, Injong flew straight up, but suddenly no one saw him anymore, and heptahorn gradually disappeared into the air. This event shocked researchers. They discussed day and night. This horrific incident that could not be resolved was investigated and analyzed by experts. This explains the issue of the alarm building appearing. Because of that incident, the Non-Human Disaster Alert Center was established, which was the reason for the noise in Im Kang's class. The non-humans were not attacking. Along with that was the creation of an organization with a flag marking monsters and a special force, the ISTF, established to control non-humans. A rectangular frame surrounded 3 characters on the board. In any case, the key point at this moment was the connection between these 3 characters. Seo Yeon summarized the long-haired hero and Injong, questioning who the man with long hair who stopped heptahorn really was, whether he had truly died, and if so, where the particularly dangerous heptahorn might be now. He also pondered the relationship with the white hat hero, who suddenly appeared not long after the disappearance of the long-haired hero and heptahorn, questioning the true identity of this white hat hero and whether the 2 heroes fighting for humanity were actually unrelated. Having finished summarizing, he quickly adjusted his glasses. The biggest question remained, where did these monsters come from? Seo Yeon's eyes widened, staring ahead with a mix of astonishment and helplessness. Meanwhile, his beloved students were sound asleep. Annoyed at their attitude, Seo Yeon stomped the desk and shouted for them to wake up as the break time was approaching, adding that he had just one more point before ending. His gaze was more serious than ever as he lowered his voice, saying that not teaching culture did not mean they could nap. The duty of students was to keep learning. He pointed the blue chalk at them, emphasizing that the most important thing was not just accumulating knowledge from books or grades, but the future, which was the true concern of society today. He enunciated each word clearly, telling them they must be proactive. Seo Yeon spread his arms and leaned on the desk while lecturing that when human limitations are revealed, they should not only study math books or play games. Once again, his seriousness rose, urging students to care more about the world beyond. The lesson ended. With his bag in hand, Seo Yeon quietly left, offering this sincere advice to his students and bidding the class farewell. Seeing their teacher so stern, Moo-hee lowered her head, eyes full of thought. Outside on the streets, Seo Yeon drove rapidly, speaking to his wife on the phone, saying that he had just finished teaching, was on his way home, had just talked with the kids, and left class early. He reassured her he would return soon, noting that today was the anniversary of their son's death. Beside him was a photo of Seo Yeon with his wife and their beloved late son. Tears flowed uncontrollably as he thought of his cherished child. The image of Seo Yeon and his son seemed to drift on the wind as he prayed that his child would not encounter any monsters in heaven. Back on the boat, Sang Jin, holding the walkie-talkie, was seized by the chameleon mutant, his entire face distorted, blood pouring from his mouth, his expression of agony indescribable. With just one hand, it lifted Sang Jin's small body into the air. Sang Jin's face contorted, his skin pulled down by the mutant's grip, tears streaming from pain and fear as he murmured, word by word, "Save me." The previously used walkie-talkie was also heavily damaged, unable to communicate. Not far away, clear sunlight shone on a floating balloon in the air. Girls with sharp, fit bodies ran and played on a large yacht. On the upper deck, tourists lounged in chairs, sunbathing their toned bodies. There was also a cool swimming pool for guests to enjoy under the harsh midday sun. This was the ideal place, an ocean-crossing warship, a royal opera heaven on a yacht. At the highest position, the control deck, the situation was assessed. Seeing the captain, Soo Jin reported that the connection had been cut. but the auto-recognition system data indicated that it was a fishing boat. Seok-woo strode forward, questioning the name and route of the fishing boat, but Dong-jun just shook his head, saying they could not know the name. Both quickly took positions at the controls. He read the signal coordinates aloud. The boat sending a distress call was 10 nautical miles away, moving in the opposite direction, but it would take only 25 minutes from their position. Outside, upon hearing the data, the officer frowned and decided, "All right, change course immediately. Prepare for a rapid rescue." "Understood, sir." Returning to the previous boat, the bag with the penguin plush and Sang-jin's body were placed side by side. The chameleon mutant had disguised itself as him, standing upright and looking ahead, seemingly using this trick to approach the nearby yacht. At Seo-yeon College in Incheon, at lunchtime, the bustling cafeteria echoed with complaints. One voice grumbled, "I'm starving." Chang Ryle, annoyed, reminded his friend, "Can you shut up about being hungry?" But it seemed futile. D-Bang kept talking about food, saying his mom hadn't given him much recently because he gained weight. With his flirtatious nature, he glanced at the girls behind him and complained, "If you had any conscience, don't say, recently. Anyway, why doesn't our class have even one attractive girl to date?" Seeing this, he added, "I bet the girls would say the same about you." Chang Ryle, angered, bit his lip and warned for the last time, "Keep talking like that and see what happens." D-Bang seemed unconcerned, glancing at him, and continued, "We're really lucky with our spots in class. You don't know the hell those in the higher classes are going through." A single remark sparked Chang Ryle's curiosity. "Why is that? Are you talking about those bastards?" He nodded slightly. "Gang-do." Recalling past events with numbers in mind, D-Bang continued, "The top 3 of Gang-do were all in higher grades, and most of Gang-do's henchmen were also placed in higher grades." Suddenly, from afar, a group of the notorious gang's subordinates approached. Chang Ryle mocked them. "Those bastards all think they're great, and we even have one of those bastards in our class. That damn henchman acts like all of it is to thank Park Gun-do." The first one entered, a rather sly face, smiling brightly. That was Duke Gun. Not wanting to provoke trouble, D-Bang warned, "Leave him alone. I don't want to get involved with them anymore." But this guy was different, teeth clenched in thought. That damn thing. Chang Ryle's eyes were stretched tight like a string, about to pop out, but D-Bang said, "What?" It turned out he was paying attention to the person behind him, quite tall, not that Kwon-chul from our class. Kwon-chul wouldn't handle Gang-do, right? Observing him from afar, D-Bang gave a brief background. "Kwon-chul, he's really strong, but he just can't become the most aggressive guy in our high school." Surprisingly, Chang Ryle didn't thank him, even scolded him. "That idiot, it's not that he can't. Do you understand what this means?" It turned out Kwon-chul had a famous past, fighting with guys from other schools. He hated being a thug unless provoked, otherwise he found fighting troublesome. Park Gumbo, the thug from our high school, Woon Jin High, fought Kwon-chul because he was jealous of his good looks, and Kwon-chul utterly defeated him. Turning away, D-Bang lamented, "Seriously, I should have befriended him in high school." But his thoughts were different from him. "Chul, stop pretending, and make Woon Jin High a better place." In the cafeteria, holding a tray of food, D-Bang pleaded with Da-sam, "Ma'am, put some spicy pork on my rice." But she shook her head. "No, you have to take some soup too. Don't eat just the rice." Although reluctant, he agreed to put it on the tray, because he didn't like eating soybeans anyway. "All right, add more. What else do you want?" "More spicy pork." Seeing D-Bang cooperate, Da-sam smiled, holding a spoon of soybean paste. "Come on, don't be shy. I'll add it for you, cute kid." After serving the food, she smiled slightly, and he asked, "Can I call you Mom?" But immediately, Chang Ryle kicked back. "Get lost." At the food station, Im Kang with his tray, eating with his mouth full. Suddenly, from somewhere, someone grabbed the chair beside him and greeted, "Hello?" It turned out to be Kwon-chul, looking at Im Kang with kind eyes. "Why are you always eating alone?" Kwon-chul sat down, bowed his head over his food sadly. "After all, I eat alone every day. His expression left Im Kang bewildered. "What's wrong with this guy?" Kwon Chol muttered. "Because I don't know anyone in class." Carrying a sense of dejection, he looked to Im Kang for comfort. "Seems like you don't have any friends either." Although Im Kang had a close friend, Ju Rai, he pretended. He put down his chopsticks, and together with Kwon Chul, sighed, "I don't have friends either." He ignored the sadness, looking at Im Kang eating next to him. A single remark sparked Chang Ryle's curiosity. "Why is that? Are you talking about those bastards?" He nodded slightly. "The Gundu gang." Recalling the time with numbers in his head, D-Bang said, "The top 3 of the Gundu gang are all in higher grades. Most of the gang's henchmen are also placed in higher classes. So basically we are quite lucky." Suddenly from afar, a group of the notorious gang's subordinates stepped forward. Chang Ryle mocked, "Those bastards all think they are great. We even have one of those bastards in our class. That damn henchman acts like it is all to thank Park Gun-do." The first to enter had a sly face and a big smile. That was Duke Gun. Not wanting to provoke trouble, D-Bang warned, "Leave him alone. I do not want to get involved with them anymore." But this guy was different. Teeth clenched in thought. That damn thing. Chang Ryle's eyes were stretched tight like strings, about to pop. But D-Bang said, "What?" It turned out he was watching the person behind him. Quite tall. Not that Kwon Chol from our class. Kwon Chol would not handle the Gun-do gang right. Observing him from afar, D-Bang introduced a brief background. "Kwon Chol, he is really strong. He just cannot be the most belligerent guy in our school." Surprisingly, Chang Ryle did not thank him but cursed. "That idiot. It is not that he cannot. Do you understand what this means?" It turned out Kwon Chol had a famed past fighting guys from other schools. He hated being a thug unless provoked. Otherwise, he found fighting troublesome. Park Gumbo, the thug at Woon Jin High, fought Kwon Chol out of jealousy over his looks, and Kwon Chol beat him to a pulp. Turning away, D-Bang regretted that, seriously, I should have befriended him in high school. But his thoughts were different. Chul, stop pretending and make Woon Jin High a better place. In the cafeteria, holding a tray, D-Bang begged Da-Som, "Ma'am, to put some spicy pork on my rice." But she shook her head. "No, you must take soup too. Do not eat only rice." Reluctantly he agreed and added it to the tray. "Because I do not like eating soybeans anyway. Add more. What else do you want?" "More spicy pork." Seeing D-Bang cooperate, Da-Som smiled while holding a spoon of soybean paste. "Come on, do not be shy. I will add it for you, cute kid." After serving the food she smiled. He asked, "Can I call you Mom?" But immediately got kicked by Chang Ryle. "Get lost." At the food station, Im Kang with his tray was eating with his mouth full. Suddenly someone grabbed the chair beside him and greeted. It was Kwon Chul, looking at Im Kang kindly. "Why do you always eat alone?" Kwon Chul sat down, bowed his head over his food sadly. "After all, I eat alone every day." His expression left Im Kang bewildered. "What is wrong with this guy?" Kwon Chul muttered, "because I do not know anyone in class." Bearing dejection, he looked to Im Kang for reassurance. "And it seems like you have no friends either." Although Im Kang had a close friend Ju Rai, he pretended. He set down his chopsticks and with Kwon Chol sighed, "I do not have friends either. You are quite lonely too." He dismissed the sadness and looked at Im Kang eating next to him. Kwon Chol focused completely on his hands holding chopsticks and spoon, those veined hands. Without hesitation he smiled and asked Im Kang, "Do you play sports? You have quite good build." Im Kang chewed and asked back, "Taekwondo, is that so?" He nodded, slightly surprised. "Yes, self-taught Taekwondo." Holding the spoon, Kwon Chol suggested, "From now on let us eat together." Im Kang with mouth full whispered, "All right." Suddenly a student flew past both of them like the wind. Damn. With a scratched body, he lay on the ground face up, mouth full of blood. "Those pigs." From afar a gang of violent thugs charged. The leader shouted loudly, "Do not block the way, father." "Why so slow? Either eat my punch, then you will move your corpse." "Sorry." It turned out the group was led by T-Ik. Fierce beast strode forward. "Now to apologize is fine. Those bastards again. First time seeing others cut in line." I will not hold back, damn. Sitting at the table, Mu-hee watched silently. Jin-ju rummaged memory and recalled Cho Taek. Thinking it was a small gang, Chang Ryle mocked, seriously. Which bastard? Luckily D-Bang kindly warned, hey, shut your mouth. Please shut up. They are the Gundu gang. Although a large gang arrived, Im Kang and Kwon Chul paid little attention, calmly eating. Taek's eyes bulged with veins. Damn, I am hot-tempered lately. You dogs are done for. His domineering voice echoed across the dining hall. I will go around and beat 5 people I find annoying. At the same time in the United States on a busy deputy road, 2 voices discussed in a building. Minister of Defense, please wait. I told you we must hurry. James, seeing his superior, calmed him. I understand your feeling, but we have no choice but to stay calm and wait. They will arrive soon. Caillou Wu sat with his chin on his hand and sighed hopelessly. How long must we wait when many may die? A glimmer of hope burst. The meeting room door opened abruptly. They were here. Peel and Withrow strode in. Peel, Mr. Withrow, do not waste time, she demanded. James, we still have not heard anything. James sprang up and struck the table. This is an extremely urgent situation, so we will provide information to you en route. But in short, the worst and most unbelievable scenario has occurred. Hearing the danger, Peel's brows furrowed. Worst scenario. The image of the giant yacht and the sweating narrator appeared. Recently, a yacht carrying 3,000 people, Sopra, was attacked by something non-human in the middle of the ocean. A single piece of information from James was enough to make Peel and Withrow freeze for a few seconds. She seemed to explode with emotion, muttering continuously, "This is terrible." Beside her, he tensed so much his brows furrowed. If that is true, everyone on the ship is like mice trapped in a jar. That truly is the worst-case scenario. Placing his hands on the table, facing everyone, he trembled in waves. Exactly. The situation right now is extremely dangerous and urgent. Not only that, the essential thing is. Before he could say anything more, Peel turned her head and left, her voice urgent. James, sorry for cutting you off, but we need to move quickly. You can provide information to us on the way as well. Let's go. Seeing their enthusiasm, James was quite satisfied and spoke. All right, then let's head to the helicopter already parked. The 3 of them strode forward confidently, gliding past Superior Caillou Wu sitting there. We will get there immediately. Sir, do you want to give them any instructions? He whispered. No, return safely. Just like that, the room grew cold and quiet. The 3 had stepped out the door. Understood, sir. The door slammed shut. A chilling silence filled the space. In the once noisy room, only Caillou Wu remained, exuding worry, his hands on his head, sighing in waves. Images of the people from earlier flickered in his mind. Sharing a room with them made his mouth dry. So that was it. The superheroes. Outside, the starry sky shimmered magically. At some abandoned building, Nankai. Nankai held a newspaper, sitting in a corner on the upper floor of the ruined building. Below him was Dan Yong, holding a phone checking news. The media was in chaos since our encounter with the white hat. Everyone was starting to hunt him down. She widened her eyes, bulging with urgency to relay the hot news. Even there are people offering a reward. Hearing this, Nankai could not hide his amusement behind the thin newspaper. A reward. Should we go out there and ask them what we did wrong? His attitude annoyed Dan Yang, looking up from below. Are you joking? Is it necessary to show your face? You know they were live streaming. But Nankai thought differently. It no longer matters. He built momentum, leapt swiftly from the high floor to the ground in a heartbeat. There is a reason I want to be on the broadcast, but I'll tell you later. How can I ignore such an interesting situation? A cunning smile appeared on Nankai's lips. The world will fall into chaos soon. Standing upright in the center of the abandoned building, with the newspaper above his head, Nankai mused, I am thinking which side would be more interesting. The game is only fun if both sides are balanced. Back with James, the 3 moved toward the waiting helicopter. Sitting in his seat with the safety belt fastened, he thought continuously, it feels like I am about to throw myself into death. Belt secured, James looked up startled by the sight. The safety belts of the two. It turned out it was her and him, not wearing safety belts, sitting comfortably. If you two feel it is awkward, then you do not need to. I am stupid. What am I saying? The people had boarded in full. The helicopter doors gradually locked tight to keep any gust of wind out. Sitting in the cockpit, the aircraft engaged the controls and announced on the radio, LC-100, fully on board, preparing for takeoff. Having finished speaking, the helicopter weighing hundreds of tons slowly left its docking position and hovered in the air. This is the first time I have flown into the open ocean just because of the disaster caused by that mutant. Not even 3 seconds. It shot up as if nearly touching the stars of the night. The LC-100 we are on is the fastest helicopter in America. Checking the map position to the yacht, James told the two opposite him. From here to where Sopra is, only about 500 meters. Estimated time to get there is about 2 hours. He feared they would not pay attention. Sitting in his seat, he pleaded continuously. On the way, let me explain the current situation. Back in the afternoon, at the military stronghold near the cliff by the sea, today around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a distress signal was sent to the naval base on the Virginia coast. An officer who had full details urgently informed his comrades behind. The signal said the ship was being attacked by a mutant, and that ship was the Sopra with 2,500 passengers and 500 crew. The image of the yacht, like a giant monster in the blue sea. The Royal Paradise Yacht is an international cruise ship that sails from the United States to the United Kingdom and back. Up to the appearance of the chameleon mutant, it attacked the yacht. We still do not know how badly the ship was damaged, but the Navy clearly recognized the seriousness of the situation. Having confided this, James's face showed extreme tension because the opponent is a mutant. We immediately requested assistance from you two, Miss Peel. However, you two were in Scotland. He recounted the difficulties in the earlier emergency. Caillou Wu constantly sought reinforcements, and because we could not sit idle, while you two were absent, the headquarters of the Mutant Elimination Team and the Navy Demolition Team were dispatched. The best submarines were deployed, hiding in the cold ocean. A total of 5 teams from the 2 organizations arrived at the scene. Hearing this information, Peel interrupted. The Mutant Elimination Team and the Demolition Team, are they fighting now? James exhaled, the image of soldiers collapsing and blood everywhere on the yacht. They arrived on scene at 8 o'clock in the evening. The walkie-talkie lost signal with all contacts, a chilling echoing sound. Back in reality, through the glasses, James's gaze seemed to change completely. Unbelievable. Considering the situation, all 5 teams we had sent out. One word would be enough to astonish her, almost destroyed. As for Withrow, he was no better, the veins at the corner of his eyes clearly visible. 20 minutes, It didn't stop there. From one report to another, James sweatily reported more. In fact, there was an even bigger problem. Both of them once again fell into a dazed state, continuously questioning what it was. According to the updated information, the yacht was moving on its own to a piece of land. The Sopra was currently in autopilot mode. At this rate, it would reach Florida as programmed. He realized the problem immediately. Simply put, we have to pull that mutant off the land, right? Adjusting his glasses. He nodded. That's right. Hands leaving the glasses, James continued speaking in fear. For that reason. It seemed he liked the feeling of startling others. Peel and Withrow continued to ponder. Raising his head high, James recalled planes like birds slicing through clouds. The F-40 aircraft equipped with mini nuclear weapons had taken off, with orders to blow up the Sopra at sea before it docked. Peel's expression after his words barely changed, silently observing. Only Withrow clearly showed his attitude on his face, grimacing and cursing loudly. Those madmen. Hands clasped together, trembling in waves, in a situation where the number of survivors was unknown. The government had decided the best course of action. James felt as if his heart was being squeezed. Thinking of the yacht and its passengers made him sweat. What was happening there? How many survivors? We knew nothing at all. Seeing him sunk in gloomy emotions, she immediately reminded him, James, stop trembling. Trying to control his emotions, he raised his head and swallowed lightly, obeying, "Yes, sir." The helicopter was entering the open sky, with black clouds and continuous lightning. He didn't need to be so pessimistic. Sitting in the chair, arms crossed, Peel declared firmly, "Because now, I am here." Back on a beautiful morning at the cafeteria, at Seoyeon College, Incheon. TX's eyes were furious, frowning, screaming madly, "You're finished, you pigs!" Relying on his own strength, his large figure looking at the student lying on the ground, "I'll take a round and beat up 5 of the ones I find annoying." TX spread his large hand, grabbed the boy's head. "First, it's you." He pressed his face close, uttering reproaches and threats. "I want to eat some fruit, but a brat like you blocks my way, ruining my mood." The boy's mouth covered in blood, pleading desperately, "I already said, I'm sorry." But it seemed the apology reached the wrong person. TX lowered his voice. "Shut your mouth. I'm not done with you yet." Suddenly, from afar, at the dining table, Moo-hee stood up and approached. "Hey?" She looked quite serious, ordering TX, knowing his high position in the gang. "Stop it, you bastards." Hearing Moo-hee's command, TX's expression shifted from anger to explosive. What did you just say?" She paid little attention, still insistently ordering, "You heard me. Stop that immediately, you bastard." One statement accompanied by Moo-hee's presence shook the entire cafeteria. Everyone froze. Chang Ryle froze, stunned for a few seconds. So brave, D-Bang as well. He couldn't believe what he had just heard, so dangerous. Im Kang was also quite surprised by Moo-hee's action. Kwon Chul was captivated by the courageous girl. Only TX's subordinates didn't care much, spitting carelessly showing disdain, yet their attitude did not change Moo-hee. While eating, her disappearance made Jinju anxious. He stood up lightly searching Moo-hee. Unable to bear the humiliation from a girl, he decided to push the one bullying aside. TX sprang up, his gaze fixed on her as if to devour her. He strode with long steps, mocking in tone, "Did they put something in the food today or what?" In an instant, TX was face to face with Moo-hee, saying to her, "You know, I'm a bastard. And I never hesitate with girls," but only met with her calm look and words, "I know the level of bastard you are." Her insulting words provoked the last restraint in TX. He raised his hand, still talking, "You slut." Although Moo-hee spoke boldly, her strength was weak, only standing her ground. Suddenly, TX's arm stiffened, unable to move. Someone was holding it. TX's eyes widened. A voice rang out, "So the rumors are true. You guys are trash. Do whatever you like." It turned out the one who acted to save her from danger was the handsome Kwon Chul. "I'm scared. How could I study in such a polluted environment?" Seeing his newly made friend like this, Im Kang was quite surprised, eyes wide open. Not stopping there, he insulted Gak calmly, "You really are a monstrous guy." Kwon Chul's appearance surprised Moo-hee, her eyes wide staring. As for the 3 subordinates following TX, they were irritated, whispering to each other, "Who's this brat? Kwon Chul. He comes from high school, but rumors say he's no ordinary guy." D-Bang watched in continuous horror, stammering, "They're about to fight." Kwon Chul is about to fight the Gundu gang. Blocked by his head, Chang Ryle annoyed, pushed while demanding, "Move, get that huge head of yours out of the way." Back to TX, he listened to Kwon Chul's words, only silent, sighing. TX's eyes now, the darkness completely replaced by white. "You?" He turned, kicked straight, sent him flying, lost his mind. Luckily, Kwon Chul had prepared. He was only pushed a few meters, didn't fall. TX's eyes seemed burning with anger, lowering his voice, emphasizing each word, "You don't even—" He seemed indifferent, hands crossed over his chest, silently bowing his head. Kwon Chul frowned in irritation, hurling insults at him. "What did you say, you slut? Keep barking?" His brave action made Chang Ryle and D-Bang respect him immensely. "Chul, step up. You finally hit a hard rock, you slut. Show them who the boss is." Kwon Chul. Sitting at the table, Im Kang with his mouth full of food chewed while watching that dramatic match. Talk is cheap. Kwon Chul kicks high, unleashing a powerful strike. That kick flew straight toward TX's face in an instant. The guy was flung away. Luckily, he staggered and steadied himself so he did not fall over. Before he could recover, he was hit by a surprise attack. Kwon Chul lunged from afar. His action was too fast and dangerous, causing both him and Mu Hee to widen their eyes in astonishment. In a flash, a deep hole was imprinted on TX's face. The attack finished. Kwon Chul's face was now smeared with blood from the guy's mouth. Kyung Ho, one of his henchmen, stood frozen for a few seconds. Something's not right here, that bastard. Hung Ryo beside him added, Cho T, back at TX's position. His foot trembled standing on the ground. At this moment his mood reached a climax of rage, teeth clenched and speechless. TX's expression made Kwon Chul flinch slightly, silently observing the situation. Though a few drops of blood still hung from his mouth, he still forced himself to speak. All right, so you're not just a barking dog. TX grabbed the side of his bruised cheek. The other hand adjusted his jacket. You are a rotten lump of meat. Now I'm about to tell you this, but don't beg for mercy. The words from his mouth made him uneasy and thoughts rushed in, whether that was a full power punch to the jaw or even stronger. In the midst of their fight, a new unfamiliar tone rang out, accompanied by a scheming smile. Wasn't that enough earlier? That sound attracted looks from Mu Hee, Kwon Chul and TX, who were burning with the thrill of battle. From afar, another group of tall people strode over leisurely. Not even noon and already fighting. These rude bastards. Too familiar with these faces. TX smiled and taunted. Cabbage head, I won't repeat myself twice. She stood not far from him, looking at their appearance and deduced whether he was really a student. I think he's an adult. Gung Mu with greenish hair, wearing glasses and a double chin spoke. Cho T, a teacher is coming. Back off. Seeing his demeanor, D Bang's face broke into sweat, and he immediately recognized. That's Nam Gung Mu. It seems Chang Ryle still doesn't know about that force. His voice full of disdain. Nam Gung Mu, that guy. He looks like he ate the teacher before coming here. He described Gung Mu's identity in a tone of horror. Nam Gung Mu is the biggest among the 3 leaders of the Gundu gang. Skill-wise he ranks 3rd, but he is also the most ruthless, so you should watch out for him the most. Seriously, you know nothing, Chang Ryle. Back at his place, long strides approached TX. A hand slapped heavily on his back. What a damn day. He became enraged, teeth clenched, and declared fiercely, next time I'll tear that bastard apart. Gung Mu only smiled slightly, a coldness emanating from his gaze. Kwon Chul, I've heard a bit about you, but today you went too far. His inquiry made Kwon Chul extremely alert, standing and watching in silence. Just when it seemed those words would stop, Gung Mu continued, accompanied by a scheming smile, if you are that shameless, I will see you again soon, you slut. His words seemed to touch his last patience. His eyes widened, showing anger. Back at the dining table, In Kang had finished his meal, holding a napkin to wipe his mouth. They are terrifying. They are the Gundu gang. They are the worst, and I'm stuck in the same class with them. I'm full now. These crazy guys think they own this place. Because he had eaten too much, he accidentally belched loudly, causing the students around to stare. They didn't know what that sound was, whispering excitedly. Only In Kang was embarrassed and covered his mouth. Did you hear that? What was it? I don't know either. It sounded like something hissing out. Moving to another location, under the dark sky with continuous thunder and lightning, James's helicopter had moved deeper inside. Is Peel, Mr. Withrow. Through the window he quickly looked outside, his neck covered in sweat. We had arrived. Below the 3 of them was the yacht that had sent the distress signal, looking truly gloomy. What should we do? Without hesitation, she started the request. Open the door. Judging by the naked eye the altitude, it seemed James disapproved and warned. We are 1,000 feet from the ground. Will you be okay? We can get closer. Outside the thunder and lightning grew louder, rumbling through the space. Just open it. With no other choice, after a moment of hesitation, he took out a headset. Through the headset I just gave to you too, we can communicate. It is activated via your biometric systems. So if nothing happens to you, we can still communicate. Peel, with Ro and James were all equipped with the same device for convenient communication. I will act as intermediary for you. Report your positions, the situation, and any other anomalies. The helicopter door slowly opened. She hurriedly stepped out, understanding. Peel gripped the edge of the door with both hands. Strong gusts of wind blew through her. And James, contact your superiors. Peel turned back for a final look, then requested one thing. We have arrived. Have them send the nuclear back. Hearing that, he immediately nodded in obedience. Yes, sir, I will, right after you deploy. With nothing more to say, James waved goodbye to the two heroes one last time. Sir, good luck. The conversation ended, and at that moment both Peel and Withrow plunged down from above at high speed. Their velocity seemed able to tear the wind apart. Smoke billowed. In an instant both had safely touched down on the yacht deck. On the yacht, the two scanned the surroundings, probing. In front of them now were corpses strewn about, and the boat interior shattered. What a mess! Following behind her, Withrow spoke. A massacre on this scale must be the work of a mutant. Peel glanced and had the situation in hand. Immediately told him, no doubt about it, because it wiped everyone out. Let's go. But she did not expect that not far away, a pair of bloodshot eyes were watching their every move. It turned out the chameleon mutant had taken control of the yacht and stood not far off to observe. As Peel was about to move forward, James, who was watching through the monitor, suddenly stopped her. Miss Peel, wait a moment, there are a few things I need to tell you too about the yacht. On this side, Peel seemed a bit impatient. In the earpiece, James's voice continued to sound. The Sopra is extremely large. Since each floor has its own layout, it is very easy to get lost. So unless that mutant approaches you two first, otherwise it may be quite difficult to find it. Hearing that, Peel fell silent. Only Withrow calmly spoke. I see. I wonder if it will show itself if we cause some chaos. Peel seemed to be thinking along the same lines. Maybe we will have to split up. James also agreed. You are right, sir, because you cannot just wait in this situation. Then, a simple model of the ship appeared in his mind, and James quickly came up with a plan. It might be best to divide between the upper and lower decks. James's fingers swiftly moved across the keyboard as he continued explaining. At present, you two are at the foredeck of the ship. One of you can go straight ahead to reach the engine room, and the other can go down to the cargo area. At this moment, an almost perfect plan had been formed. James's voice became faster and faster. From here, the one on the upper deck can go down, and the one in the middle deck can go up. Search for survivors, and eliminate that mutant as soon as you spot it. He paused for a moment. Although the plan was good, he was still worried. The only thing I care about is that if you two stay together, you can join forces to eliminate the mutant. But if you split up, it means each of you will have to face it one-on-one. Peel immediately interrupted. There is no other way. We do not even know how many survivors there are. We have to choose the fastest option. Withrow had no objection. He looked off into the distance. I will go to the upper deck. Hearing Withrow say that, Peel quickly moved toward the stairs. All right, then I will go to the lower deck. While vaulting over the railing to jump down, Peel did not forget to remind him. Withrow, let us warn each other when we engage in combat. As soon as she finished speaking, she took a running start and decisively leaped off the deck. When her body was suspended in midair between the ship's hull, Peel clenched her hand into a fist. Then she struck the hull hard. Next, Peel turned her head to search around, thinking to herself, if it's around here. Immediately after, Peel held her hand steady, then used her legs to push her body away. Then Peel concentrated all her strength in her legs, using them as a tool to propel herself forward. Indeed, it worked. With just one push, a hole was pierced into the ship's hull. Accordingly, Peel successfully infiltrated inside the ship through that gap. Dim light fell on Peel's strong body. At this moment she was crouched, breathing heavily. After regaining her balance, Peel scanned the surroundings. In front of her were stacks of cardboard boxes. Peel tried to keep her voice as low as possible. I managed to get inside. There's quite a lot of cargo piled here. Receiving her information, James on the other side of the earpiece immediately realized. You are inside the cargo area, B4 section. How is the situation there? Peel groped her way through the darkness, whispering into the earpiece, I can't tell yet. I don't see anyone. After a while of searching, Peel finally reported with certainty, no corpses, everything looks normal. I'll have to keep checking around. Hearing that, James switched to Withrow's location. Mr. Withrow, it seems you've gone quite deep. How is it there? Withrow quickly responded, still nothing new. At the entrance, I only saw dead bodies. Then he cautiously moved inside, where corpses were already strewn everywhere, the bridge, the control room, even the information center. I searched everything, but only found dead people. Not just the bodies, blood was everywhere. The scene made Withrow shudder. It looked like hell. Given this situation, James's voice became increasingly tense. It really doesn't intend to show itself as if it's playing hide and seek. Yet on Withrow's side, nothing could be heard. James, the signal on your side is quite bad. I can't hear clearly. Interference noise reached James's earpiece. He pressed it irritably. What's going on? Outside, it was raining heavily, but James didn't think it was due to the weather. No way, communication is failing. Nevertheless, he tried to reassure me. I also can't hear you very clearly, but you need to continue, sir. After finishing speaking, James sank into thought again, calculating in his mind. Considering our current position, it might be due to the influence of the Bermuda Triangle. This is indeed a problem. Communication is crucial because they are splitting up. Meanwhile, Withrow was moving deeper to scout, and just as he was momentarily distracted, what is this? Stuck. Should I take it off? A sound came from behind. The sound immediately reached Withrow's ears, and he cautiously glanced back. Unexpectedly, it was Kai Hyan, his vacant face speaking each word heavily. My wife was taken by the monster. Withrow was astonished. He's still alive. One survivor. He quickly reported to James, James, I found one survivor. While Kai Hyan kept repeating endlessly, my wife. Withrow tried to call him, hey. Suddenly, Kai Hyan became agitated, shouting, you're a demon. You tricked me, you bastard. Seeing Kai Hyan's on James's side, he had only heard 3 words so far, survivor. James began to feel uneasy. Communication was already useless. I can track their positions, but communicating will be quite difficult. The only thing I can do is prepare a headset for them. I'm not even slightly useful, damn it. Back in the warehouse, Peel was about to report something into the earpiece, but stopped. James, forget it. She tapped the earpiece a few times, only receiving a stream of garbled sounds in response. What's wrong with this? Is it the weather? Is it broken? From behind, a voice called, Ngok Than. She immediately turned around. It was Sun Mai, the little girl peeking out from the nearby shelf, a trace of fear on her face. She asked, are you Miss Peel? Before Peel could answer, Sun Mai anxiously continued, you came to save us, right? She nodded, yes, but I'm not a lady. At the same time, Withrow had reached a firmly closed door. He touched the bloodstain on it, thinking to himself, this is... Then the large door gradually opened, a faint white light spilling out. The chaotic scene behind the door made Withrow freeze. The banquet hall. The smell of blood here was heavier. He wanted to report to James, but the communication was completely cut off. This piece of junk was no longer usable. Just as Withrow was about to step forward, Peel's figure suddenly appeared before him. Peel turned her back to Withrow, the light only illuminating a corner of her back. Seeing Peel appear here, Withrow's eyes showed clear astonishment. He quietly called, Peel. Hearing the call, Peel in front of him turned around, half of her face shrouded in darkness. Recognizing Peel, Withrow asked in confusion, Peel, how are you on the upper deck? At that moment, her red lips parted slightly, moving stiffly. Unexpectedly, the sound that came out was the piercing shriek of a monster, and the other half of her face revealed a strange red eye. Withrow still couldn't comprehend what was happening, frozen in place. Taking advantage of Withrow's distraction, The monster bared its grotesque sharp teeth and attacked him. Then it swallowed with satisfaction, with Ro's face showing pain. Though he had managed to pull back in time, blood kept pouring out. Withrow gritted his teeth, cursing, "Damn it." One of his... Fortunately, he managed to dodge, and the monster slammed only into the wall. Bearing the painful wound, Withrow tried to leap as far away as possible. Reaching a safe corner, he finally dared to stop and catch his breath. Hiding behind a large pillar in the banquet hall, Withrow cautiously observed his surroundings. "I was careless. If I hadn't reacted in time, my head would have been gone." He bit his lip until it left a mark, still questioning in his mind. "I can't understand. This isn't a hallucination. Is it mimicking or something? How could it replicate Peel's appearance?" Withrow's hand clenched the wound on his shoulder, tense as he thought. "I know I let my guard down, but there's so much deadly power here." Just as Withrow was lost in thought, a movement behind him made him startle. The monster had so quickly found Withrow's hiding spot, violently toppling the large pillar. Even he was nearly struck by its greenish body. As they brushed past each other, Withrow caught a partial glimpse of its form. The monster still tried to attack, but Withrow swiftly evaded. Then, Withrow took momentum and quickly bounced away from it. Because he had lost one hand, it took him a while to regain balance on the ground. In such a disadvantageous situation, he also had to remain alert to the monster he was facing. From the chaos of the recent collision, the monster's sharp claws appeared again. Then it slowly stood up, its green body glimpsed through the thick white dust. After that, the true form of the chameleon appeared, still wearing Peel's mask on its abdomen. Withrow frowned, a drop of cold sweat rolling down his forehead, silently assessing. "So this is its real form. So it really can shapeshift? Unbelievable." At this point, Withrow knew a bloody battle was unavoidable. He grabbed the cloth on his body. A calmness unlike ever before appeared on his face. Then he decisively yanked the cloth off. Next, one of his feet stomped on a corner of the cloth. His free hand wasn't idle either, quickly ripping it into two pieces. Then Withrow used his remaining hand to pull the strip to temporarily bandage the wound. By the time he reached the final knot, the veins on his hand were bulging. "Damn it. It's really driving me crazy." Withrow lifted his bare shoulder, his voice full of anger. "Give me back my hand, you bastard." The chameleon didn't bother listening further, swiftly lifting its heavy body and charging toward Withrow. At the same time, in the helicopter flying through the heavy rain, James closely monitored the information screen, typing on the keyboard while at the pilot's seat. Hammer reported another piece of bad news. "James, the storm is getting more intense." This news made James even more uneasy. "I know that." Pausing for a moment, Hammer hesitantly suggested a solution. "We have to land on the ship's deck." On Peel's side, she was holding Sun Mai's small hand. As she led Peel along, the little girl joyfully shouted, "Everyone, Goddess Peel has arrived." As she approached, Peel's pupils suddenly dilated, reflecting a bit of light. Before her was a group of people, who cheered upon seeing Peel. "Goddess Peel. It's really her. Peel. It's truly Goddess Peel." Peel looked at them suspiciously. "Who are you?" An old man answered, "We are the survivors." A curious boy peeked. "That's Goddess Peel. She looks exactly like on TV." The middle-aged man beside him also spoke. "We are hiding at the moment. Those on the lower deck are hiding in different places." Seeing the number of survivors, Peel quickly thought, "There are so many survivors, I need to act fast." At that moment, a sincere voice called out, "Goddess Peel, I know this request may be too much, but please save everyone." Elsewhere, in the banquet hall, a wine bottle swayed from the shock of the fierce battle. After a moment of wobbling on the table, it quickly fell and shattered on the floor. At that moment, the huge foot of the chameleon stepped on it as if unaware. Then, the chameleon leaped across the room at an incredible speed. Wherever it landed, everything was immediately destroyed. In the blink of an eye, the chameleon had precisely landed in front of Withrow. He was ready too, his strong arm raised in time to block its strike. But because of that, the gecko grabbed Withrow's arm, and that hand immediately stretched out, forming a sharp angle. Realizing the gecko's intention, Withrow kicked straight into its chest. Now, both sides were in a tense struggle, Withrow slightly disadvantaged because he had lost an arm. Indeed, inside, he was also screaming, taking advantage of the moment when Withrow's hands and legs were controlled. The gecko opened its disgusting mouth wide. Seeing that, Withrow decisively leapt up and delivered a knee to its chin. Then he immediately took the opportunity to break free from the gecko's grip while stepping back. Withrow's eyes remained fixed ahead, where the gecko was standing up. At this moment, Withrow was silently calculating. It still kept its true form during the fight. Its ability to perfectly change shape was not a major threat in a battle. Thinking so, he held his forehead with his hand and forcefully exhaled. Withrow silently made up his mind that he needed to end this here, his eyes shining with determination. Seeing his sudden change in momentum, the gecko also became cautious. Then, Withrow seemed to have noticed something, his pupils slightly moving. Following Withrow's gaze, unexpectedly, he was looking at a large wooden barrel nearby. Withrow stared at it for a while, seemingly an idea forming in his mind. Moments later, Withrow suddenly accelerated, heading straight for the barrel. Then, he lifted one leg for momentum and kicked the barrel with force. At that moment, the red wine immediately splashed out along with debris. The red liquid sprayed like a waterfall, fragments and droplets mingling with flashes of light scattering in all directions. It was time for Withrow to use his superpower, his eyes calmly radiating a dazzling energy. Under its influence, the flying droplets instantly solidified into blocks. Then, those ice blocks simultaneously shot straight at the gecko. While it was bewildered, the ice blocks struck various parts of its body. Withrow still maintained the kicking motion, red wine dripping on his pants. In his eyes radiating tremendous power, a hint of fury had somehow emerged. Withrow slowly stepped toward the gecko, casually picking up a bottle of wine along the way. Then he tightly gripped the neck of the bottle and smashed it hard against a nearby table. From the broken glass, the wine continuously poured out. When the stream of wine flowed long enough, it solidified into a sharp ice block like before. Now, this solid block had become a weapon in Withrow's hand. He angrily spoke, "Today has really been quite a frustrating day." Without hesitation, pointing the tip direct. Then Withrow focused all his strength into his foot, took momentum, and leapt forward. He charged like a storm, the heavy strike carrying the power of thunder aimed straight at the gecko. The surrounding scene turned pitch black, and a voice suddenly echoed, "Galen Withrow, he came from East Harlem." The space returned to the moment when Withrow first met Peel. The two outside were observing. Overall, he didn't seem very dangerous, but his gaze was extremely sharp. Hearing this, James replied, "The Bloods have already been eliminated. It wasn't a major battle, but he handled them in an instant." Ben beside him could not hide his surprise. The street gang leaders were also caught after being dealt with in the cold, right? Is that even possible? James nodded. Yes, that's him. At that moment, a hint of admiration flickered in Ben's eyes. Even handling those trash made the government struggle. Then a voice suddenly rang out inside, no matter the reason. Seeing this, James raised his hand to signal. They were talking. It turned out to be Peel. She was silently evaluating Withrow in front of her. Considering that he had a body that could withstand bullets and take down gangs, clearly I could say he is a superhuman. Peel didn't beat around the bush and asked directly, "How could you do that?" The wound stopped bleeding in an instant. "I know you did it, so don't hide anything from me." Withrow remained silent, only his eyes suddenly shining brightly. Seeing the eyes radiate such strong light, Peel froze immediately. Before Peel could comprehend what was happening, the coffee in her cup had solidified into a block. Withrow calmly said, "It's simple." Not only did Peel's cup show this phenomenon, but the coffee in front of Withrow also solidified. Withrow replied vaguely, "I don't know how to explain it, because I don't know, but I can instantly solidify any liquid around me." Those words amazed everyone. James exclaimed, "What? In the interrogation room, Withrow continued to explain, within a range of 10 meters, and I can solidify as much liquid as I want within that range. Ben was still skeptical. No way. Withrow's voice rose again, and as I said, I don't know how I do it. I only know I can activate it at will, and it requires a large amount of energy and focus. Returning to the present, the sharp tip of the ice block made from wine was about to pierce the gecko's eye. Shadows of the past surged back. Peel at that time said, "It really is a strange power, like freezing it, isn't it?" Withrow spoke to deny, "It's a little different." His eye color gradually returned to normal. Withrow added, "The principle is the same, but the liquid is even harder than stone, its hardness comparable to diamond." In front of him, Peel curiously turned the cup in her hand upside down, "So you can even change its material." That voice quickly pulled Withrow back to reality. The ice block in his hand had pierced through the gecko's eye. Of course, if you solidify a liquid and apply great force to it, it can be more powerful than most cannons. Hit directly in a vital spot, the gecko clutched one of its eyes and screamed in pain. After a moment, it furiously clenched the arm at its side so tightly that the veins bulged. Then it growled and used that strong arm to strike at Withrow. Unable to dodge the gecko's punch, Withrow was sent flying straight into the wall. Under the force of its frenzied blow, Withrow took the hit so painfully that he bit his lip until it bled. When the pain finally subsided, Withrow managed to regain his composure and exhaled lightly. Holding his aching waist from the impact, Withrow grew inwardly angry. "It missed even when I put all my strength into it. I can't strike directly because I'm off balance." Before he could think of a solution, the movement ahead made him look up. It was the sound of the gecko's running footsteps as it charged toward Withrow at full speed. Then came a violent collision that sent fragments flying everywhere between the two of them. From the thick white dust, Withrow, with his agile body, managed to escape outside. But the gecko still pursued closely behind, its body now turned completely blood-red from rage. Withrow gritted his teeth. "Even after I blasted half its head off, its speed hasn't decreased at all." Meanwhile, on Peel's side, she was still accelerating, searching everywhere on the ship. While running, Peel organized the situation on each deck. Nothing unusual in the holds on the 4th or 5th floor. Same here. The lower decks are all unaffected, which means the farther she ran, the clearer the sound in Peel's ears became. She began to feel uneasy. Though unclear, she could hear rumbling sounds all around. Suddenly, the headset on Peel's ear emitted a series of broken sounds. The voice came through faintly. The situation was... Peel anxiously pressed on the earpiece, "James." After several attempts, Peel finally managed to faintly hear a fragmented sentence, "at the party." The communication was cut off again, but it was enough for Peel to know where she needed to go. Outside, the rain was pouring heavily, and the helicopter was slowly descending onto the ship's deck. Inside, James's eyes were still fixed on the computer screen. "The fight has gone on for too long. I can see he's almost there, but Peel needs to hurry." At the battle site in the banquet hall, Withrow's vision was darkening, and the surroundings were becoming strangely distorted. Now, his pupils were covered in red. Withrow tried to stay focused. My vision was fading. The gecko, however, showed no sign of exhaustion. It kept chasing Withrow around the room relentlessly. Just as danger was closing in, something above caught Withrow's attention. On the ceiling were fire alarm sprinklers, which seemed to inspire an idea in him. Right as the gecko's hand was about to grab him, he leapt upward. "I wonder if it will trigger an impact." As soon as he reached the right height, Withrow, while suspended in midair, kicked the sprinklers hard. With that single kick, the fire alarm system broke apart, and water began gushing out all around. When Withrow safely landed back on the ground, the gecko's body behind him was already drenched by the pouring water. The first step of his plan was complete. Next, Withrow's eyes began to shine brilliantly once more. As expected, the water on the gecko's body solidified, causing it to freeze in place. Seeing this, Withrow exerted more power, and the ice rapidly spread across the gecko's body. Before his eyes, it was quickly encased in a layer of ice and immobilized on the spot. At that moment, James's voice from the past echoed, "Sorry for disturbing you, gentlemen. First, I sincerely thank you for cooperating with the interrogation, Mr. Withrow. Therefore, you asked the key question, how long does the effect of that special ability last? It truly is a power that defies scientific principles." James continued speaking through the glass barrier. "I'm certain it has limits, both in range and duration. Otherwise, it would remain frozen forever." Hearing that, Withrow did not hesitate to explain, "Of course not. As I said before, this ability depends on my mental strength." Thinking of that, Withrow's mind returned to the gecko before him. "The influence depends on my condition, but once it has solidified, it takes at least an hour for it to liquefy again." Though it was motionless, Withrow still didn't dare to relax. "It's been a long time since I fought this hard. It cost me an arm." Suddenly, he gently touched the stump of his severed arm, still uncertain inside, "Should I finish it off?" Just then, a flash of light glimmered within the endless darkness. Withrow's eyes widened instantly. Then, his pupils returned to black, and his stiff head tilted to one side, immediately flying off his neck. In his fading consciousness, Withrow was still in shock. "What?" Then his body collapsed, his severed head rolling onto the ground. The red blood on his slowly chilling face began to dry, and his wide eyes gradually turned red. At that moment, a pair of muscular green legs appeared within Withrow's fading sight, behind him. As his body fell completely, his consciousness dissolved into one final thought: is there a second one? James inside was focused on typing quickly on the keyboard. All right, it would take a little time, but those two would meet soon. On the screen, the red letter W representing Withrow's signal suddenly stopped. Then that signal turned into a short jagged line and disappeared completely. Realizing the signal was suddenly cut off, James felt deeply puzzled. He pressed the earpiece on his ear, while his other hand tapped the keyboard. Why did the radar suddenly shut off? In contrast, the signal representing Peel was still brightly lit. And at that moment, James noticed it was gone. Wait, only Sir Withrow's signal was cut. That thought made James freeze for a moment, and an ominous feeling arose in his heart. James recalled the mechanism of the headset. "We gave both of them the devices developed by the inventors. They function through your biometric system, as long as nothing happens to you." Every word from back then struck directly into James's mind. He trembled unconsciously. No. But James tried to calm himself by continuously pressing the keyboard. He told himself, no way. Yet still, only Peel's signal was shining, and now the two signals had drawn close to each other. On Peel's side, she was hurriedly using her legs to push off and leap up. Then Peel bent her body, one leg using force to kick strongly toward the door. With a powerful kick, Peel broke through the door, ignoring the splinters as she rushed inside. The second mutant quickly detected the noise, lifting its sharp eyes toward the door. Before it, Peel was slightly crouched, surrounded by the fragments of the door. In just an instant, Peel also sensed the presence of another creature in the room. In an instant, the atmosphere became heavy. Peel's pupils dilated and froze at the scene before her. Her eyes quickly caught sight of two mutants, one still normal while the other had already been sealed in ice. Then came the image Peel least wanted to see. Withrow's body and head had been separated. Peel stood frozen as everything around her returned to darkness. Memories suddenly flooded back. Though they never showed it, everyone was truly grateful when he joined the team. That was when Withrow and Peel were sitting next to each other in the park, she softly said, including myself. At that time, Peel was wearing her casual clothes, holding a half-eaten snack. James was really happy then. That was when Withrow had just joined the team. He was still shy because of James's enthusiasm. That annoying man, I would never wear that outfit. Peel beside him advised, those mutants are more dangerous than you think. Just like the emergency we faced yesterday. You never know what kind of monsters will appear, or what kind of situation. At that moment, both of their gazes were drawn to Namju's smile in front of them. That innocence completely contrasted with what Peel was about to say. Even if there's only a 1 in a million chance during battle, even if one of us dies. In the end, Peel wanted to remind me, I hope the one left will still keep a cool head and act rationally. Over by the park's water fountain, Namju had fallen to the ground, with Ro replied, rationally. Hearing that, Peel's eyes grew thoughtful. She calmly said, depending on each situation, retreating is a viable strategy. Like when Namju tripped out of impatience and lost the ball, Peel wanted to emphasize, I mean, don't rush and ruin the plan just because we can't control our emotions. Because when you can't stay stable, it'll be hard to unleash your full strength. Seeing the ball roll farther away, Namju was now teary-eyed. That innocence was something Peel always wanted to preserve. A belief that you must survive. You need to protect the world, even if that means having to ask for help. Though with Ro retorted, his eyes had already begun to shine. She's talking nonsense, and Peel was left speechless. Then with Ro slowly stood up from the bench, his calm voice sounded, because if the enemy is something even you can't defeat, I'll run away, because that means it's not something I can face. With Ro turned his back and walked straight ahead, leaving a final line for Peel behind him. I'm not that sentimental. If you die, I'll be fine. At that moment, Namju in front of them had stopped crying. The boy's round eyes looked up at the sky. Seeing that, with Ro continued walking. All right, I'm leaving. It turned out with Ro had frozen water to make another ball for Namju. Peel had already known, which was why she remained so calm. A moment later, a strange emotion flickered through her eyes, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. Returning to the present, Peel's face had darkened. The veins on it stood out clearly. Her mind was now consumed by anger. Peel blamed herself. I really did say nothing but nonsense. The spider mutant also sensed her terrifying aura. Its body immediately turned red. Then Peel darted toward the spider mutant, her speed so great that it blew away everything in her path. After that, she channeled all her fury into her clenched fist and drove it straight at the spider. It couldn't dodge Peel's attack. The punch struck directly into the spider mutant's head. Then Peel swiftly twisted her body and pulled her arm back. Its body collapsed backward at once. Even when the spider mutant no longer moved, the hatred on Peel's face did not fade. Then, in her eyes appeared overwhelming shock and grief. Peel stepped toward with Ro's cold body. She froze in place, unable to bring herself closer. At that moment, facing a silent Peel was with Ro's wide-open, lifeless eyes. After a long while, Peel finally managed to restrain her emotions and bent down. Just then, the spider mutant, which seemed already dead, suddenly sprang up and lunged toward her. The sharp end of the claw on its back hooked straight into Peel's shoulder, making her jolt in place. The spider mutant excitedly observed Peel, the gruesome gaping hole on its face seeming to wait to attack the moment she turned back. Yet despite some time having passed, Peel still showed no sign of resistance. Regardless of the pain spreading from her shoulder, Peel's hand continued the unfinished motion. With that same hand, she stroked the eyes of the ill-fated Withrow. And when she finished, he looked as if he were sleeping. Then Peel slowly stood up. The hooked spike of the spider mutant had been pushed out. She calmly looked back, and a terrible energy immediately radiated around her body. This power made the spider mutant wary, and it instantly withdrew its previous stare. Before Peel had to act, the spider mutant jumped backward on its own. Of course, Peel would not give it the chance. In a flash, she seized one of the spider mutant's claws. Peel's hand tightened, causing it to cry out in pain, but no satisfaction appeared on her face. Then Peel spun and put all her strength into hurling the spider mutant. In Peel's powerful hand, the spider mutant could do nothing but be thrown at her will. Under Peel's horrifying force, the spider mutant flew out of sight, its body scraping so much dust filled the air. In an instant, the spider mutant's body was flattened against the wall. Then Peel, filled with hatred, stepped toward it. Since the day I started cleaning up trash like you, this is the worst day. Having said that, she clenched both hands on the detached leg joint of the gecko mutant and decisively snapped it in two. Peel's face darkened as she growled, "I will do as you did." Sorrow and hatred erupted inside her at once, and her voice turned cold. "You cannot imagine how you will die." Then Peel threw the 2 pieces of the spider mutant's leg away and strode toward it. After a while of being stunned, the spider mutant regained strength, clinging tightly to the wall behind. Its body curled up defensively, its mouth letting out a long, ferocious roar. Then the gecko flexed its legs to gain momentum, its claws digging into the wall. Next, the spider mutant opened its disgusting mouth wide, then charged violently toward Peel. In the blink of an eye, its sharp spider legs were up close to her face. Faced with that, Peel did not flinch. She put her hand behind. After that, she swung her fist forward with force, giving the spider mutant a painful jaw hook. Enduring the force of that decisive blow, its fangs immediately shattered. Just as the spider mutant raised its head, its gaze met Peel's ready fist, and so it was struck by another thunderous blow. This time, the spider mutant's face was deformed. Not stopping there, as its body rotated with its head, Peel continued to swing to gain momentum. Then another direct punch followed, carrying all of Peel's rage. The spider mutant clearly had no chance to retaliate. It could only let Peel's fist pull it and send it flying. At the end of the combo, the spider mutant's body was thrown far away. It collided with the hard pillar behind, both sides striking so violently that dust filled the air. Until that dust gradually dispersed, the ground was covered only with debris of soil and paving bricks. Seeing the spider mutant motionless, Peel shouted, "Today, I will make you wish you were dead rather than alive. But you are not even worthy to live while I beat you." She coldly ordered it, "I'm about to kill you, stand up." But the only response was a series of high-pitched sounds from that smashed face. Just then, the layer of ice around the gecko was melting, revealing blood-red eyes. Meanwhile, at headquarters, people were arguing. "Have we heard anything from James?" One person answered, "Since he requested we cancel the attack order, there has been no connection." Another worriedly spoke, "Have they been defeated?" but was quickly cut off. "Don't be quick to conclude. Something else could have happened." In the tense meeting, people took turns offering guesses. It seemed there was interference there due to weather conditions. "First of all, we should raise the alert level." Only the person sitting in the chair of the presiding officer remained silent. His subordinate immediately reported, "Mr. President, above all, re-establishing connection with the Asopra is encountering problems. It is still not too late to send surveillance planes." The person next to him questioned, "Surveillance planes? What use is sending them when we already know this is an emergency?" At that moment Gahi spoke to end the argument. "Everyone, order. This issue cannot be solved by watching only." No sooner had he finished than another person spoke up. "Mr. President, in fact Peel and her team requested we cancel the attack order, which means they can handle the situation on the Asopra." Hearing their reason, Yunwoo's face grew more and more wrinkled. "You need to order the combat aircraft to return." As the atmosphere grew tense, a low voice suddenly rose, "Not so." As soon as that sentence was uttered, everyone in the meeting fell silent. Markers sat leisurely in his chair. The old man sneered in a loud voice. "Endorsing such a lenient decision is what has made this headquarters noisy. Right now I am thinking about this. You are the worm spoiling the stew." Yunwoo muttered, "Markers," beside him. Gahi impatiently spoke up. What did you just say?" Yet Markers brazenly cut him off. "Do not cut me off." On the angular face now stained with traces of time, Marker's jaw twitched. "Mr. President." Then the old man sternly recalled Yunwoo's previous actions, carried out biometric and code authentication, and the nuclear missile chain was ready. The deployment of F-40s was awaiting the Prime Minister's order. Cruelty showed in Marker's gaze as he reminded, like giving an order, "You need to issue the attack order right now." Gahi exclaimed in shock. "Absurd." He still wanted to object. "What meaningless words are you spouting? Peel and Withrow are on site. Have they ever failed?" But the only response was Marker's faint smile. "Is that so?" Then he suddenly challenged Gahi back. "So right now have we been informed by James that the disaster has been cleared up or not?" Seeing that no one dared to utter a sound, Markers continued in a raised tone. Since the crisis began, we dispatched the assault team, and the headquarters strike team has already gone to exterminate the mutants. But when they arrived, we lost all connection with them. And did we not again receive silence from James and their team? Have they ever failed? In the end, Markers even emphasized one thing in a grating voice. Listen carefully. There is no such thing as eternal peace. Markers' next words immediately left Ga-hee speechless. In 1 in a million chance they fail. Will you take responsibility and care for those consequences? Then he turned his gaze to the others, his voice carrying a threatening implication. If not you, then who among those here can carry it out? Ga-hee was provoked by those words. He shouted angrily. So do you think launching nuclear missiles is easy? How can you think such an immature thought? What about the crew and passengers? There are 3,000 people on board. Markers did not answer immediately. He asked the secretary beside him, Kondo, how much longer until the Sopra docks? He observed the screen and replied, I estimate less than an hour and a half left. Hearing that, Markers continued to question Ga-hee. Did you hear? What will you do? Why do you not reflect on whether the remaining time is short or long? I do not know whether you know, but the destination is Lauderdale Fortress, where the population is about 200,000 people, and the whole state of Florida is over 20 million people. At this point, Ga-hee was cornered by Markers, but he still tried to fight for a chance for James' group. Do not act as if you know better than us. If we drop the bomb, are you not just speculating as well? Currently the battle is still ongoing, and we cannot observe it. As expected, Ga-hee would say that. Markers quickly replied, instead of waiting for a battle we cannot see, would it not be better to minimize risk? Must I explain such a simple thing to you? Are you serious? Ga-hee was struck speechless and could not retort. He was flustered. What did you just do? In that tense situation, a solemn authoritative voice shouted, Stop. After careful consideration, Yun-woo decided, All of you stop. I will cancel the attack order on the Sopra. I will not listen to any of your opinions. This visibly angered Markers, while the opposing side secretly rejoiced. Yes, sir. However, Ga-hee was still somewhat bewildered. What are you doing? But the other subordinates urged him. Did you not hear what he just said? Order them back immediately. A wise decision, Mr. Prime Minister. On the next action, only Yun-woo was lost in thought. Peel. The darkness of memory reappeared. This time it was the conversation between Yun-woo and Peel. Sorry for suddenly appearing like this. In the pouring rain, he softly said to her, I came here unannounced because I wanted to personally send my thanks. Before Peel's astonished eyes, Yun-woo then uttered, To you, no, to all of you. For the rigid Peel, she almost did not reply. Only Yun-woo solemnly expressed, I still owe everyone a lot. Hearing him say that, Peel slightly frowned, her lips pressed as if restraining an overflowing emotion. But then Peel forcefully turned and walked away. She tilted her head to look at Yun-woo. What debt here? Under the heavy rain, only Peel's lonely back remained. How can one set a price when saving people? It was that same back that now had to face the enemy alone. Suddenly Peel's body was tightly wrapped by the tangled silk of the spider mutant. After a while, at present the spider mutant in front of Peel was exhausted. It breathed out heavy labored breaths. Although it had faced many enemies, this action of the spider mutant still made her wonder, spinning silk from its stomach even when it was on the brink of death. Just as Peel was not paying attention behind her, the layer of ice had been melting. The gecko was waking up. As soon as it escaped the ice, it bared its disgusting teeth and attacked Peel. With a bite of terrifying force, the gecko clamped onto her shoulder. Only when she felt the pain on her shoulder did Peel realize its presence. At that time her face was very close to the gecko, and their eyes immediately met. Then Peel clearly saw its strange form and froze for a moment. But Peel quickly regained her composure. Her eyes, filled with disgust, narrowed. Taking advantage of the gecko's mouth clamped on her shoulder, she reached for its head. Next, Peel forcefully grabbed the gecko's head, and its head was squeezed out of shape. She roared, Is that all you have? And after that question came a powerful throw. hurling the gecko straight into the wall. Having just entered combat, the gecko suffered the same fate as its comrade, being smashed flat against the pillar. After dealing with the gecko, Peel tore her muscular arm out of the pile of webs, so he was now in a pincer. Her face darkened and her voice rang out like an accusation, "A mutant like you." Then Peel strode straight to the gecko. "Withrow is a nasty and impulsive guy. Maybe he will not go to heaven." Her face sank into shadow, only her eyes shining with fury. "So if you meet my friend in hell, then beg him for forgiveness." As soon as she finished, Peel poured all her hatred into her fist, and the light of power blazed across the space. With just the power of a single punch, the chameleon was completely wiped out. Not only that, the golden light from that power also shone brightly outward. In an instant, a large section of the ship's hull bulged out, and the golden glow grew even stronger. Right after that, the outer metal layer was shattered, and a brilliant beam of light shot straight into the sky. Under the dark night sky, that golden light was dazzlingly bright. The impact from it was not small either, and James's helicopter was also affected. Something was wrong. A moment later, he urgently ordered Hammer, open the door. The man was still confused, imitate it. Back at Peel's location, she was still stunned after that strike. In front of Peel, several solid layers of the ship's hull had been pierced through. When the golden light finally faded, James, with a look of astonishment, cautiously stepped out of the helicopter. Before him was a gaping hole still filled with traces of golden energy, and James tried to look through it. What was inside? As those words left his mouth, from within the giant hole emerged a muscular figure. That figure was none other than Peel herself, slowly walking out. A gentle night breeze passed by, slightly lifting Peel's hair, making James stare in awe. Seeing him appear there, Peel softly jumped down. At that moment, her very presence alone made James's heart tremble even more, until Peel opened her mouth, as if silently confirming that suspicion. Then, James could no longer hold back his emotions. Tears slowly rolled down from his eyes. He collapsed to the ground, and behind him, Hammer seemed to have understood as well. The entire scene was silent, as there were no words that could describe their pain at that moment. James sobbed like a child, while Peel did not cry. She held back her tears in agony as if punishing herself. The scene shifted to the shelter, where news from James's side quickly reached headquarters. The one who answered the call was Jae-wook, whose face showed visible shock. As soon as the call ended, Jae-wook rushed out of his office like lightning. Next, he hurriedly threw open the door to the president's conference room. Just as all eyes turned toward him, Jae-wook announced the news about the ship. According to him, James's team had successfully rescued all the survivors on board. Hearing that, the tension immediately eased, though markers visibly showed his displeasure. Right after that, the whole meeting room erupted, nearly everyone cheering and punching the air in joy. In contrast, Yun-woo lowered his head in deep thought, and that gesture was caught by markers. It was Im-kang, slurping noodles while staring intently at the TV. With the SS Opera arriving, as we mentioned, they were updating the damages from the incident, and the rescue workers waiting at the port were helping the crew members and passengers. The sound of Im-kang eating noodles echoed all the way to the bathroom, where Ju-rai was scrolling through his phone. Hearing it, he gritted his teeth and muttered in frustration, "I told him to wait, but it's always the same. Damn it, he's driving me crazy again." Just as Ju-rai was about to complain, "Hey, Im-kang," his stomach twisted. Why does it always happen at this exact moment? Meanwhile, Im-kang was too focused on the news to hear Ju-rai, as the broadcast announced that the public was sending condolences. Irritated, Ju-rai shouted loudly, "Hey!" This time, Im-kang finally noticed. "What? You need toilet paper?" But in truth, Ju-rai was only worried about the pot of noodles. "I told you to wait." Hearing his annoyed voice, Im-kang suddenly snapped out of it. Then, startled, he tilted the pot to find it already light and empty, panic rising in his chest. "It's gone. I didn't notice. I had to hurry and cook another batch." Before Im-kang could do anything, Ju-rai opened the door and stepped out. You finished it all, didn't you? I'm the one who cooked that. I'm not going easy on you this time. You need to be taught a lesson." In response, Im Kang's face and hands froze stiffly, making Ju rise suddenly uneasy. This isn't right, watching TV with that serious look on his face. The sound of the TV announcement echoed just in time, bringing the news of the passing of the superhero Galen Withrow. The whole world was shocked and mourned his death. Following that was a segment honoring his achievements. Galen Withrow was an official superhero who had joined Peel's American superhero team and had helped resolve nearly 50% of the mutant crises from several years ago. Hearing that, Ju Rai's eyes widened in disbelief. Withrow, a superhero, had died. Meanwhile, Im Kang's expression only tightened slightly. His eyes remained fixed on the news report, which mentioned that many places were holding memorials for him and that the United States government was implementing further improvements to the SOPRA. A few drops of sweat rolled down Ju Rai's forehead as he hesitated and Ju Rai pleaded, "Just stay quiet and make some more. Kang, I don't want to get angry." The scene shifted to a rooftop in the city, where two figures were standing. One of them spoke, and I was really shocked by his death. Nan Kai laughed loudly. "Dan Yang, superheroes aren't invincible. All humans must die." The two of them were also watching the news about Withrow. Nan Kai calmly continued, "I'm sure they acted alone." Dan Yang curiously asked, "What makes you say that?" Nan Kai closed his eyes, a faint smirk forming on his lips, his voice suddenly rising. "I guess so, because it's hard to believe someone could die while on patrol." Hearing that, Dan Yang asked in surprise, "On patrol, is Peel really that strong?" Then Nan Kai stood up and calmly recounted, "I once had an encounter with her, or rather, I was caught watching her battle." At that time, Peel noticed Nan Kai. The two faced each other, both aware of the other's presence. I happened to reveal myself to her, and though Peel showed a rather hostile attitude, she still let a suspicious man like me go. That made Dan Yang quite intrigued, and she suddenly exclaimed, "What a kind person." Then Nan Kai closed his eyes again, his voice lowering. "If back then she had decided not to let me return." A gentle night breeze fluttered Nan Kai's coat as he continued, "Dan Yang, we might not see each other again." A moment later, Nan Kai straightened up, speaking as if to himself, "Maybe that's how it is." Dan Yang lifted her head, her gaze distant. "I never believe you, Nan Kai, because more than half of what you say are lies, but that Peel woman is truly terrifying." Hearing her words, Nan Kai gave a weak laugh. "I haven't done anything like lying, have I?" Dan Yang bluntly exposed him. "That's another lie." The scene shifted to Interstate 95 in Florida. Inside a luxurious car, an anxious voice sounded, "Ben." James helplessly pressed a hand to his forehead, impatiently waiting for a response from the other end. "Please, pick up." Finally, that sleepy voice came through. "Who's calling so early in the morning?" James immediately unleashed a barrage. "Ben, is your phone just for display?" Ben still refused to leave his bed. "James, where are you right now? I just got the news that you returned, but what's with this phone number?" Even in a rush, James had to scold him. "Burner phone, you idiot. Anyway, listen carefully. There's a problem." At that moment, his voice suddenly turned grave as James delivered the urgent news. Withrow's body had disappeared. Hearing that, Ben panicked and sat up straight. "What? How could that be?" James's voice came through the phone. "I don't know either, but don't let this information leak out. It's top secret." James's expression darkened as he spoke anxiously. "Even though Withrow's funeral has been cancelled, things are now truly complicated." Outside, the car had just entered the highway, and James calmly arranged, "Tomorrow we'll hold a meeting about this case. I'll explain everything in detail then. But until that time, I want you to investigate a few things about the SS Opera." Hearing that, Ben asked in confusion, "That cruise ship, I see. So what exactly do you want me to look into?" James replied, "Nothing too difficult. I've already sent you the details." Ben quickly agreed. "James, leave it to me." Hearing that, James on the other end felt a little more at ease. "Thank you, Ben. I'll see you in Washington, D.C. as soon as the call ended." James was so furious that veins bulged across his face. How dare those bastards? As the call screen faded to black, Ben's thoughts sank into darkness, doing something vile like disturbing the body of the dead. The scene shifted to a familiar street. Walking along the road, Ju-rai sighed heavily. His face was tense, filled with irritation and confusion. Where could she have gone? Why couldn't I stop her from leaving? His mind drifted back to that day when Ha-yi had spoken in a threatening tone. Check your sister's email right now. If anything happens, you'd better contact me immediately. Saying that, she turned sharply and walked away. This time I'm returning to America and won't be coming back for a while because they can't accomplish anything without a genius like me. I'll make sure to send you your monthly living expenses. Before leaving, Ha-yi had emphasized, especially Ju-rai, don't spend recklessly, and if you have time, find yourself a part-time job. Remembering that moment now only made Ju-rai more regretful. I ignored too many of that genius woman's warnings. I've run out of money, even though I haven't been spending carelessly. I wonder if it's because of Kang's food expenses. Damn it. In truth, he was troubled by something else. She hasn't replied to my email. Sis, nothing bad will happen to you, right? Thinking that, Ju-rai pouted in frustration, his heart heavy with worry. You know what? I have to become independent. Right now that I'm 18, I'll earn an incredible amount of money with my own hands. Nothing is impossible for the genius Ju-rai. Just as he was lost in thought, something suddenly caught his attention. On the utility pole in front of him, a bright poster had been pasted up. The content was about the Ali Cup arm wrestling tournament, with a grand prize of 8 million. Reading that number, Ju-rai was so shocked that he couldn't utter a word, standing frozen in place for a long while. After a moment, he suddenly remembered something and hurriedly searched through his jacket pocket. Then he pulled out his phone, and the call screen quickly lit up. In just a moment, a weary voice came from the other end. At that moment, Ju-rai's trembling hand was still brushing against the poster. Kang, my dear little one, I am actually surprised you picked up instead of sleeping through class. Kang impatiently cut him off. It's PE class. Ju-rai glanced around and asked, what S with all that noise? What are you doing? Kang snapped, I told you, it's PE class. I am outside. Hearing that, Kwon-chul teased, who's that? Your girlfriend. While Chang Ryle urged, D-bang, hurry up, man. We almost at the school store. Kang growling, so, Ju-rai, why did you call me? Beside him, Chang Ryle held out his hand. Give me $30. It's your turn to pay. D-bang refused flatly. What, 30? Chang Ryle argued back. What do you mean? You and that Kang guy ate like pigs. All that noisy chatter reached Ju-rai's ears, and he smiled with satisfaction, thinking, even though he mostly sleeps, he sure makes friends fast. I'm really happy, kind of proud of him. When Ju-rai didn't respond, Kang called out, Ju-rai? Ju-rai answered vaguely, nothing big, but the plan where I promised to treat you to fried chicken. We'll have to postpone it. This Sunday, I need you to come somewhere with me. At the same time, in Washington, D.C., United States, James was in a meeting with Ben and Peel. The camera was playing back the recorded footage. Now, we'll begin the meeting on the incident aboard the SS Opera. Then James began reading the damage report from the ship. After one day, we have compiled 150 cases including missing, dead, and injured individuals so far, and since the ship was isolated at sea, we've gathered the most accurate casualty numbers possible. His voice rang with seriousness. In this incident, the damage spread within the mutants' active range like a silver coating across it. Those mutants didn't move beyond the upper deck of the cruise ship, which prevented further casualties. As he spoke, James recalled the battle. Most of this was thanks to the efforts of the demolition team and the headquarters of the Mutant Eradication Division. At that moment, the combat units immediately opened fire, coordinating their attacks. Thanks to the large-scale battle that broke out on the ship's deck, the attention of the mutants was completely drawn to the upper level. In the end, this created an opportunity for the passengers to evacuate from the battle, thereby reducing the number of casualties. According to the final damage report, Most of them had died in the fight, but their deaths were not entirely in vain. Hearing this, Peel frowned, and Ben, sitting across from her, also slightly furrowed his brows. However, James remained calm as ever. He continued speaking. Next, the mutants. The damage this time was mainly caused by two extremely aggressive mutants. The most fatal mistake in this incident, compared to previous ones, was that surprisingly, there were as many as two of them. Pausing for a moment, James thoughtfully. At that moment, Peel, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. Let me say it. The word startled James, and Ben was so surprised that his eyes widened. Peel took a deep breath, the memories of that day still vividly clear in her mind. The first one I encountered when I arrived was clearly a spider-type mutant. Peel's voice lowered. It even spat spider silk from its abdomen, and it ran toward him with 8 blade-like legs. In addition, Peel added, seeing with Ro's head separated from his body, it looked like a finishing blow from that spider-type creature. Based on her own experience from the battle with the spider mutant, Peel could be certain, from what I observed while fighting it, it seemed tougher than other mutants. It was definitely strong. However, it did not possess the kind of speed or durability that with Ro could not handle. Regarding this, she had already thought it through and came up with a theory. I guess with Ro fought the frozen one, he must have battled that frozen creature and was ambushed by the spider-type one after he was exhausted. Remembering that mutant, Peel recalled that the frozen one with Ro fought had a bizarre appearance, with a head resembling a chameleon, and for whatever reason, it possessed the ability to mimic others. From the bite that day, she concluded that even when it attacked me, it was still in the process of imitating with Ro. But Peel was not entirely sure about that. She was still puzzled. This is only my hypothesis. I don't know who it was imitating, but it is entirely possible that Withrow was struck down by that shape-shifting ability. Hearing this, Ben rubbed his forehead nervously and sighed. This is serious. Just hearing it already gives me a headache. After Peel finished her report, James turned his worried gaze toward Ben. Looking at this incident, together with all the previous mutant cases, the assumption Ben had been defending recently seemed quite close to the truth. At this point, although information about the mutants was still scarce, what James could be certain of was, we don't know why, but mutants are creatures that possess distinct traits of various animal species. From James's perspective, the situation was becoming increasingly difficult to comprehend. However, the incident on the SS Opera left us with more questions than any other event before. First of all, how could both of them be in the same place at the same time? Furthermore, James finally brought up the grim news. Second, the biggest question mark, or rather the biggest issue, is Peel, who had been listening, suddenly remembered something and spoke up. That's right. It turned out that Peel had already carefully investigated everything. The remains of the mutants as well as the bodies of the other victims were all left untouched. Only Mr. Withrow's body had vanished. Hearing her say that, James's pen moved quickly across the page to record it, and he added, since we failed to notice the disappearance of his body before the ship docked, we can assume that it vanished before the authorities arrived. None of it makes any sense, but that also means Ben was still lost in his own whimsical imagination. Either it has ascended to heaven, or Mr. Withrow, beheaded, has returned to the mortal world and gone his own way. Knowing he was deeply saddened, James responded softly, since neither direction makes sense, the most likely scenario is. But Peel had already guessed something, her voice heavy as she said, someone was on that ship and stole the body. This was also the hypothesis James was considering, and he quickly nodded, exactly, disappeared without a trace. Saying that, James turned to ask Ben about the thing I asked you. He then reported, yes, I have spoken with the hotline of the Royal Paradise Cruise. Ben's face became serious, his hands forming as if explaining, saying that the S. Cypria has a security camera system in the monitoring room that recorded most of the ship. I have requested restoration of all the security camera footage that was recorded. However, Ben also had to report that it would take 1 week to restore the data. They said they will provide the recordings when they are ready. I am certain there will be some clues if we observe the footage in the banquet hall where Mr. Withrow fell, as well as the surrounding footage. Now, a fierce flame of determination burned inside them. Ben said in a strained voice, "We will find the bastard who stole Mr. Withrow's body." The scene shifted to a computer screen. A shrill voice rang out, "What? Sunday? The Ali Cup Arm Wrestling Tournament." At an internet cafe in Incheon, people had gathered together inside the shop. The announcement echoed, welcoming all genders, all weights. "Look at that prize money." Taek read it and cursed angrily. "Damn it. This is such a hassle." Kyung-ho leaned in to ask, "What's up?" Taek replied angrily, "I hate those cheesy tournaments where maggots participate." Although he said that, Taek was still hesitating, but the prize money was too large to pass up. After thinking for a moment, he ordered his subordinates, "Call Gundu. Call all the brothers in the Gundu gang." Finally, the day had arrived. Sunday, the day of the tournament. Inside the arena, the voice of a professional mech echoed, "Hello everyone." In the competition tents, several pairs of thick muscular arms were already clashing in the preliminary rounds. Meanwhile, the mech continued, "Welcome to the Ali Cup Arm Wrestling Championship, taking place here at LC Stadium. Since the number of participants this year is nearly 3 times higher than last year, we will be running a simpler, faster preliminary round." Then came the explanation of the tournament rules. A 16-man final round. Those who pass the brutal preliminaries will be randomly matched by the judges for the main event. And of course, the part everyone was waiting for, the prize announcement. 1 million won for third place, 2 million for second place, and for first place, the champion will take home 5 million won and the symbol of victory, the legendary cup. At one corner of the arena, Ju Rai looked at the crowd before him and clenched his teeth annoyed. "Damn, that's a lot of people." He glanced anxiously at his phone. "I'm getting nervous. I hope we make it on time." Beside him, Im Kang grimaced, holding his stomach. "Ugh, my stomach hurts. Maybe it's nerves." That reaction immediately caught Ju Rai's attention. He frowned. His mind flashed back to a few days earlier. Back then Ju Rai was holding up the poster for Im Kang to see. "You get it now, right? This is important. It's an arm wrestling championship, and the ketchup guy is visiting Korea." On the poster, a muscular man was printed in bold colors. Ju Rai emphasized, "You understand you don't get to see the ketchup guy in person every day, right?" Im Kang nodded casually. "Yeah, of course. Personally, I don't really care about arm wrestling tournaments." But Ju Rai waved his hand dismissively. No, you can't think like that. This tournament is way more important." After thorough analysis, Ju Rai could be sure that in summary the tournament would start at 9 o'clock and the preliminary rounds would probably take the whole morning. He pointed his finger toward the sky, his tone full of excitement. "Once it's over, the knockout stage will take place in the afternoon. Since there are 16 matches, it will take at most 3 hours. Once you win, we'll grab the prize money and catch the bus to Incheon Airport at 5 o'clock to get ready to welcome the ketchup guy." Although Ju Rai was full of enthusiasm, Im Kang only cared about whether they could get an autograph. Ju Rai turned around to search behind the seat. "Hey, no matter what, those who prepare in advance are the ones who win." Then he happily took out a red shirt with a big letter K logo printed on it and smiled proudly. "The ketchup guy uniform. We'll show him how much we like him. Our chances of getting his attention will increase a lot." Seeing Ju Rai's preparation, Im Kang praised, "Genius." Hearing that, Ju Rai smirked, his voice full of satisfaction. "Perfect. It's going to be a busy day." At that moment, an announcement sound pulled him back to reality. "Number 82. Are you here?" Hearing the familiar number, Ju Rai turned to Im Kang. "Your number is." He looked down at his shirt carefully and replied, "I'm 82. Seeing Im Kang so calm, Ju Rai had to urge, "It's you. Stop standing there like a rock. They're calling you. Straighten your back." Watching Im Kang's back as he ran off, Ju Rai silently fumed. "This guy always makes me worry to death." By now, Im Kang had reached the registration spot. "Number 82. He nodded, "Yes." Suddenly, Ju Rai called out, "Hey Kang." Hearing his name, Im Kang curiously turned around, his eyes looking back innocently. In front of him, Ju Rai raised his fist and reminded me. You remember how we practiced, right? Just do it like that. Don't worry. Hearing his reminder, Im Kang recalled the previous training session where Ju Rai had instructed, control your strength, don't fling people away, pretend, not too much strength, still too much, loosen up more. But at that time Im Kang was confused. You said practice, right? Why are you trying so hard to win? In short, what Ju Rai wanted Im Kang to remember was, no matter what, you have to look like you're struggling against them. You can't make people suspect you're a superhero. Though outwardly Im Kang acted like he understood to make Ju Rai believe, inside he was screaming, this is hard, I hope it ends soon. While he was lost in thought, a sharp voice grabbed Im Kang's attention. What is this? It turned out to be his opponent, number 117, staring at Im Kang with contempt. I know this tournament allows any weight to enter, but still, they should give me a real opponent so I do not have to show mercy. Do they want me to hurt children or what? Seeing Im Kang say nothing, he even threatened, at least you are not tiny, I will have no trouble with you, so watch that wrist. It did not take long for the MC's voice to ring out. Number 82 and number 117, preliminary match, begin. While their hands were getting into position, the referee seriously reminded them, do not lower your elbow now. Number 117, lean your back a bit. At that moment, Im Kang suddenly felt tense. He repeated those words unconsciously. I am so worried, control your strength. When the referee shouted, ready, number 117 arrogantly thought to himself, really, what kind of grip is this? This brat, I changed my mind, I will crush him. The referee's voice quickly came out, and number 117 immediately forced Im Kang's hand down. His face was obscured by rolls of fat, but his eyes still showed arrogance, I will truly crush him. Before he could finish speaking, Im Kang unexpectedly reversed his hand and threw him down. The move was extremely powerful, to the point that dust was blown in all directions. Even the referee was stunned and gaped. After a while, he calmed down and announced the result. Match over, winner, number 82. At the same time, the contestants outside were wondering what that sound was, and the person next to them could not hide their curiosity. I felt a strong gust of wind, or was it just my imagination? Back with Ju Rai. Though his face was covered in sweat, he forced a smile. Amazing. The opponent was weaker than I thought. Maybe he was injured. Well done. Come on. Next came the introduction of the contestants. Begin. From overseas, Zeus of Bulgaria. He ranks 4th in the World Arm Wrestling Rankings. Number 17, Nishalai Chasho. Right after that was a man with bright, even teeth. His opponent is, with a strength that defies logic hidden behind that gentle smile. The second pair, from Sub-Mu Martial Arts Academy, an organization carrying the mission of traditional Subak martial arts. Number 99, Lee Moon-gu. Below the stage, his supporters were shouting enthusiastically, Master is the best, Master Moon-gu, scare them to death. Only Bang Won remained silent. He had pinned all his hopes on Moon-gu. You must win, Moon-gu. Rebuilding JoJo cost a fortune. Second place is fine, at least third. On stage, the me continued. Next, we have a high school student, a huge fan of the Tomato Man who has defeated many strong opponents to get here. He is the rising star in the arm wrestling world. Im Kang repeated in confusion. Rising star, the MC's voice echoed. Number 82, Im Kang. The camera then turned to a monk, Im Kang's opponent. He said he runs every day for training. Number 59, the jogging monk Yon Yang from Jayu Rim Temple. In the audience, cheers for Yon Yang drowned out the MC's voice. Master Yon Yang, you are the pride of our temple. Do your best. One monk even prayed on the spot. From my prayer, I wish you the best from the bottom of my heart. Another monk with a strong voice shouted, you look more radiant than ever. After that, the Mick introduced the next contestant. Let us hear the enthusiastic cheers from the monks. Do not underestimate him just because he is a high school student. Number 51, Nam Gung Mu. The one with a sly smile on his lips and thinking to himself, I don't care who it is, the winner will be me, Nam Gung Mu. the Mig said playfully. I don't think anyone would guess he is a high school student if I didn't say so. His opponent is number 103, Cho Tae-ik. As soon as Tae-ik saw Gung-moo, he felt irritated. Of all people, why did it have to be this radish-head guy? Seeing that expression on his face, the Mick added, he is known as a troublemaker because he caused a commotion during the preliminaries after failing to control his anger. Now, for some reason, he also looks really dangerous. At that moment, Tae-ik's underlings were laughing wickedly. Damn, internal rivalry, huh? Crush him, Cho Tae, go, radish head. The monks saw that and pointed at each other. Master Mulguang, look at those students. They remind me of you before entering the temple. Namo Amitabha. Then the camera turned to the next contestant, but that spot had long been empty. The next contestant, he holds a legendary record as the man who became undefeated in a street fight. Number 14 Young. Number 14 is nowhere to be seen. Maybe he wandered off somewhere. The Mick skillfully moved on from that part, then turned to a contestant with a serious expression. Next, the opponent of number 14 who disappeared, number 127, Park Gun-do. Hearing that familiar name, Im Kang curiously looked over. The crowd around was shouting loudly, "It's Gun-do, go Gun-do, go." After that, the Mick quickly went over the remaining matchups. Next we have number 4 versus number 120, number 66 versus number 40, number 119 versus number 29. One contestant immediately complained, "Are we just standing here for decoration?" "Why so fast suddenly?" the Mick gently explained, "Due to limited time, please forgive us." After the contestant introductions, a complete match bracket appeared on the big screen. That's all. This is the full tournament bracket. Although this year's competition has no weight limit, defeating many big and strong adults, many high school students have. The scene shifted to the vast sky. Inside the airplane there was a sudden broken cough. "This cold will not go away." Dion complained helplessly. "With these pants they just cling to my butt. It has been a long time since I wore a tracksuit on a plane. I am not saying it is inconvenient." Rose, who was taking notes beside him, had to stop and remind him. "The entertainment company there asked you to wear your outfit and go out in front of the crowd outside the airport. As listed in the contract, I know it is quite inconvenient, but please try to understand, Dion." Having said that, Rose closed the notebook in his hand. He encouraged Dion, "The fans who come to greet you will be overjoyed. Think about your influence." The person sitting next to him was Matt Dion, the lead actor in the hero film, The Resilient Tomato Man, who reluctantly obeyed. Of course, a superstar schedule only exists because of their fans. The people who lost sleep waiting for us, the Tomato Man, will be there. Rose next to him was still focused on the pile of notes in his hand, his words a bit perfunctory. "I think you are speaking from afar. Just speak normally in a normal conversation," Dion replied wearily. "Yeah, all right, sorry, I will sleep a little more." Though his tone was a bit unhappy, Rose did not notice and was only busy with work. "Yes, rest a bit, we still have another route to take." Back at the arm wrestling competition, by now the tournament had entered a heated stage. And now it was the match of number 103 Cho Tae-ik versus number 51 Nam Gung-moo. Tae-ik taunted, "Hey radish head." Unexpectedly he lowered his voice to whisper, "We have to let Gun-do take first place, and I will take second lightly after dealing with those guys. Anyway, the prize money will be split, so do not waste my energy fighting among yourselves." Facing Tae-ik, Gung-moo suddenly flashed a sly smile. "But if that is the plan, is it not better to let me do it?" Realizing that his tone had changed, Tae-ik growled and asked, "What did you just say?" In response came only a string of mockery from Gung-moo, who slowly removed the glasses from his eyes. "What about me? I have always been stronger. Why are you glaring at me like that? Since when did you start thinking you could tell me where to sit?" In the audience below, Kyung-ho seemed to notice something. "Oh no, it's over. Radish Head is about to go all out against Cho Tae." Hung Ryo immediately asked, "Why do you say that?" Kyung-ho's face suddenly turned tense. Radish Head only takes off his glasses when he is dead serious about fighting to. Hearing that, Hung Ryo finally paid attention. Yeah, I think I have never seen him without those flashy glasses. Another guy beside them also asked curiously. Now that you mention it, I just realized, why is that? Pausing for a moment, Kyung-ho slowly answered the reason, because he is self-conscious. On the arena stage, Gung-moo's gentle eyes were now visible behind the glasses. Kyung-ho continued, about his super kind eyes. Seeing those eyes, T-ik was holding back laughter so hard that veins popped on his face. His voice came out full of provocation. So you really took off your glasses? Pride over friendship, huh? All right, now I know exactly how you feel. While they were still glaring at each other, the stern voice of the referee rang out, "Get ready." As soon as he shouted, "Fight," T-ik and Gung-moo immediately put all their strength into their arms, both plunging into an intense, suffocating match. At the same time, on another side, the sharp eyes of Yeon-yang appeared. You cannot deceive these eyes. He clasped one hand to his chest, his tone gentle. I can sense the aura of a great whirlpool within you, Im-kang. Then Yeon-yang suddenly lowered his tone, just like me, possessing an unimaginable strength. Hearing that, Im-kang was momentarily unsure how to respond. After that, Yeon-yang rolled up his sleeve, revealing his solid arm muscles. Let me test your strength a little. Having said that, he calmly placed his elbow on the table, his voice carrying a hint of anticipation. Come on, let's begin. Facing an opponent like Yeon-yang, Im-kang remained silent from start to finish. No one knew how much time had passed, but the mic was enthusiastically announcing, "Over here, the match has already ended. An incredible turn of events. Let's go," crushing everyone's expectations. Lee Moon-gu of the Sub-Mu Martial Arts Academy has defeated the world-ranked Chasho, Nishalai Chasho, a true fan of this tournament. After the match, Chasho was completely exhausted. He looked at Moon-gu in disbelief and muttered to himself, "No way, he definitely isn't human." Meanwhile, in the audience, despite the loud cheering of the two disciples, "Master, go for it. I know already. Master Moon-gu, have some water." Bang-won was deep in thought. None of them should be a match for you. Moon-gu, you will surely be the winner. Thinking that, he and the two others formed heart-shaped hands toward Moon-gu. Bang-won's eyes were filled with heart. "I love you," while the other two's eyes burned with fiery passion. "I love you." Moon-gu made a heart gesture back. "I love you too." Elsewhere, the match between T-ik and Gung-moo had also reached its climax. Would this match finally come to an end? The tense and fierce battle between Cho T-ik and Nam Gung-moo seemed to be approaching its conclusion. At that moment, Gung-moo's gentle, sparkling eyes contrasted completely with his fierce tone. "Give up, you bastard." On T-ik's face was sheer determination. Then T-ik poured all his remaining strength into his hand and shouted powerfully, "I always win." The match finally came to an end. T-ik arrogantly looked at Gung-moo. "You haven't heard that famous line yet, have you, fat boy?" The MC's voice quickly rang out. The winner, number 103, Cho T-ik. But in the match between Yeon-yang and Im-kang, their tightly gripped hands were still locked in perfect balance. At that moment, sweat poured down Yeon-yang like rain. He looked at Im-kang in disbelief. He's not even moving an inch. Seeing Gundo's complicated expression, Im-kang scratched his face blankly. What's going on? But then the mic quickly calmed the situation. There's been a bit of disturbance, but we will continue the event. Contestant number 99, Lee Moon-gu, has defeated contestant number 119 in the semifinals, securing his place in the finals, and now the second semifinal will begin. I can't help but wonder who will face Lee Moon-gu. The first match turned out to be the semifinal. Number 103 Cho T-ik versus number 82 Im-kang. At that moment, someone observing suddenly realized, "Hey, isn't that guy from our school, Kai Duke-gun? Isn't he your classmate?" I recognized his face. Duke-gun replied reluctantly, "Yeah." On his face was clear jealousy. His narrow eyes radiated pettiness. "Im-kang, that bastard's been hanging out with Kwon Chul lately. I really can't stand him." The one behind then asked, "Wait, how did that guy even make it to the semifinals? He must have some kind of unbreakable spirit or something." Another person chimed in, "So what happened to Gundo? Did he really leave?" The one next to him replied, "Hell if I know, doesn't sound like that great boss who used to hang out with lowlifes like us anymore, damn it." Over at the arena, T-Ik was sizing up Im Kang. "I'm wondering where I've seen you before. You're that Quan Chol's lackey, aren't you?" In front of him, Im Kang stayed silent just as he had been all this time. T-Ik lifted his bleeding lip into a crooked grin, speaking irritably. Then T-Ik's expression suddenly twisted into something terrifying, his voice carrying an open threat. "So don't mess with me, and just lose as quickly as you can, got it? If you act slow, or even use a bit of your strength, I'll rip your asshole apart right here in front of everyone, you bastard." At that moment, the referee's voice rang out, "Ready, fight." As the match began, T-Ik, facing the calm Im Kang, grew increasingly agitated. "Hey, you bastard, I told you not to use any strength at all." In truth, Im Kang was remembering how T-Ik had treated him before, so his hand unconsciously used a little strength, but even that was enough to make T-Ik scream non-stop. Im Kang, as if not hearing anything, accidentally used even more strength. This time T-Ik screamed in agony, "Pain, damn it." Only then did Im Kang panic, realizing he had gone too far. "Crap, I didn't notice," while T-Ik's voice weakened my hand. In front of everyone, T-Ik collapsed, which made the mic speak up. "That's an injury." Contestant Cho T-Ik suddenly collapsed mid-match. Could it be a sprain from his fight with Nam Gung Moo? I hope it's not a serious injury. And soon after, the result of the match was announced. The winner, number 82 Im Kang, after defeating countless strong opponents, he will advance to the final match. Then the MC's voice grew excited. "Everyone, that was truly a long match. And now, finally, the Arm Wrestling Ollie Cup Championship." Following the MC's lead, all attention turned toward the long-awaited golden trophy, the final round. There was no doubt anymore. Im Kang's opponent this time was Moon Gu. The scene suddenly shifted to Incheon Airport, where white clouds drifted lazily across the clear blue sky. Suddenly, a green foot appeared in the frame. It belonged to a strange mutant with an eerie appearance. It had no nose, and the back of its head was oversized. Back to Ju Rai, he rubbed his forehead and let out a relieved sigh. "So while I was in the lounge, they'd already reached the finals. Huh, you did great." Then Ju Rai raised his thumb in praise. "I'm really proud of you, Kang," and Im Kang cheerfully raised his arm in response. Ju Rai. Just then, the cheers from Moon Gu's supporters cut in. "Go Moon Gu, go, Master, give it your all, Master Moon Gu." His two disciples were posing enthusiastically. "Master, look at me just once. Let's go, Master." Even Bang One wasn't any less excited. "I love you, Master." Ju Rai couldn't help feeling embarrassed for them. These martial artists really have no shame. They've been blinded by money. After a long wait, the announcement finally rang out. "Then the final match will begin right now." On the stage, a bright smile bloomed on Moon Gu's face as he politely introduced himself. "I am a practitioner of Subak Martial Arts and the head instructor of the Sub-Mu Martial Arts Academy. My name is Lee Moon Gu." Moon Gu continued cheerfully, "Win or lose, let's have a match that neither of us will regret." Facing the aura radiating from Moon Gu, Im Kang was momentarily stunned and unconsciously responded, "Ah, yes." Following that, both of their arms moved into the ready position. Seeing this, the Mick raised his voice. "The hands of the two final contenders have finally met. The tension is almost unbearable." As the Mick continued his introduction, both of them had defeated countless powerful opponents. Who will be the ultimate winner? The faces of Moon Gu and Im Kang were tense to a frightening degree. Im Kang's eyes remained calm as ever, while Moon Gu, carrying noble expectations upon himself, was also fully focused. At that moment, the MC's voice sounded like a ticking time bomb. The final match prepared. Standing at the observation area, Ju Rai's breathing grew heavy. "Please, Kang, act well." Bang One stared intently upward, his eyes filled with hope. "Moon Gu, I believe in you. Please win." The monks who came to support Yeon Young were also drawn in by the tense atmosphere on the stage. "Let's just watch the final match before heading back." Then, a loud explosion-like sound erupted on the stage, and the MC's voice thundered down, "Fighting." Immediately after, the two of them plunged into a breath-stopping clash. The match had begun, and the collision of their strength could be felt throughout the entire stadium. In another corner, Gung Mu was watching the stage with greedy eyes. "It's him, right? Kwon Chol's right-hand man, Im Kang, isn't it? Those bastards finally revealed their true faces. If that damn guy wins, we'll just steal the prize money." On the side of the Sub-Mu Martial Arts Academy students, two of them shouted so enthusiastically that veins popped out on their faces. "You are the pride of Sub-Mu Academy. Master, you can do it." Now, every gaze was fixed on the two tightly clasped hands, with veins bulging like steel cords. Sweat was dripping down Moon-gu's face, and his tense eyes reflected boundless determination. At this moment, in the quiet space, only Moon-gu's heavy breathing echoed. He clenched his teeth and screamed inwardly, "Unbelievable. This is no..." The immense pressure on Moon-gu's arm made him feel as if he were fighting a giant elephant, struggling just to preserve his precious life. That was the kind of pressure it was. But as time went on, Moon-gu's hand no longer obeyed him. His arm gradually tilted to one side. And finally, it collapsed onto the table, just as the MC's voice rang out. He had finally fallen. Only then did Ju Rai dare to exhale, celebrating in his own strange way. "Nice, that looked natural." Bang One of course could not be happy. He closed his eyes in disappointment. "Damn it." On stage, the Mick raised one arm excitedly and announced the final winner, and confetti was shot out. "Number 82, Im Kang. This is an extraordinary talent, like watching the youthful king of the Ali Arm wrestling world." Then the Mick turned to Im Kang and asked, "Congratulations, Im Kang. Have you thought about what you will use the prize money for?" Im Kang had come here only for the idol's autograph and did not care about the prize. He scratched his cheek blankly. "No, I don't know." Hearing that, the Mick guided, "Well then, as you know, the world has recently been falling into chaos because of natural disasters as well as inhumane crises. So one way to help the unlucky people affected by these tragedies is to donate." Those words made Im Kang's eyes light up. He silently repeated, "Help the unlucky." Im Kang's gaze turned toward the volunteer tent, and in his ear the Mick loudly explained, "Yes, because disasters are happening worldwide. People help one another regardless of borders and nationality." Before Im Kang's eyes, the charity group raised their banner along with shining looks. Actually, Im Kang had not paid attention to the MC's words. "There are many ways to donate. You can check later," and he was only paying attention to the slogan, "Please be an angel for the children." That line seemed to give Im Kang more determination. He softly spoke, "That seems like a good cause. I want to donate." The Mick next to him was stunned and asked, "That is not an easy decision. But you are saying you want to donate?" Im Kang confirmed firmly, "Yes." Hearing that, the Mick immediately praised him. "Wonderful. He has the qualities of a true champion. Isn't he so pure and generous?" While Im Kang was overwhelmed by the surrounding cheers, the Mick spoke up, "Will you donate everything?" And without thinking he answered, "Yes," which earned him more praise. "Yes, you are the best. Well done. Even in such darkness and solitude, the final light has shone. This young person is our future." Among the cheering crowd, probably only Ju Rai, upon hearing the Mick speak without a moment's hesitation, "Number 82, you have surely done something great," was angrily holding his head below, thinking, "I feel like I'm about to steam." Back with Moon-gu having lost, he soon had tears all over his face. "I am sorry, master." Moon-gu's voice full of remorse. "The prize was right in front of me, but I was not good enough." Bang One, though unhappy, still replied, "What are you doing, Moon-gu? Do not cry anymore." And as if on cue, tears spilled from the corners of his eyes. Bang One comforted Moon-gu. As a martial artist, even when facing trials, sadness, or regret, one should not shed tears. Besides, second place is still 2,000,000 won. Stop crying like a fool and think about what you have achieved. Only then did he dare to look up and stare straight ahead. Moon-gu cried out in surprise, "Master." At Bang One wiping his eyes, Moon-gu honestly said out loud, "You look like you are crying too." After the tournament ended, Ju Rai led Im Kang out with a huge bump on his head to the bus to the airport. Fortunately, there was still plenty of time. Im Kang rubbed his belly and suggested, "Then let us eat something first. Are you hungry?" The two were chatting and decided to leave just to be safe. To stop for a moment only, not noticing the strange look the mech had given earlier from behind. At the same time, in a corner, Gongmu's crew were discussing, "Hey, shall we go to the internet cafe? There is still a ton to do here." Kyung-ho suddenly called out to the group, "Look at that guy." Immediately T-ik, who was fuming, had to call out to Im Kang and Ju Rai. Seeing Im Kang dare to look over, T-ik raised his voice to threaten, "You bastard. I will see you at school." "Got it." Im Kang heard and remained silent as before. Only Ju Rai now realized, "What? Those kids are from Kang's school." Then he switched into combative mode and shouted, "Hey, you yellow-haired bunch over there. If you think you are tough, come out here and show me. How dare you take it?" T-ik looked at Im Kang, who was holding Ju Rai back, and asked, "Who is that crippled kid?" The one beside him shook his head. "I do not know, but he is getting on my nerves." Not only did T-ik's group come looking for Im Kang, but Moon-gu also came. "Im Kang?" He stood calmly in front of him. "That was an amazing match. My hand is still numb." Im Kang joined in. "Ah yes, mine too." Then Moon-gu took out a business card. He directly made a recruitment offer, feeling a bit shy. "But this is my card. Whenever you have a chance, come to the Sub-Mu Martial Arts Academy. I bet you have some real talent." Im Kang took the card and politely replied, "Okay, I will come visit you." Ju Rai beside him thought for a moment, "What is that card anyway?" After greeting Im Kang, Moon-gu cheerfully turned to leave. "All right, let us go recharge with some Korean BBQ before training." Just hearing the word food made Im Kang focus immediately. "I want to learn martial arts, pork belly." While Ju Rai was surprised that was so sudden, Bang Won, who was walking last, suddenly admired the golden trophy he somehow had. "So this is the legendary cup. It really shines. Let me take a quick look." At that moment Ju Rai had not noticed anything strange yet and reminded him, "Ah yes, please be careful not to scratch it." Only when his hands suddenly felt strangely empty did Ju Rai realize. He froze and looked down at his hands. Confusion in his eyes. When did he take it? He pushed Ju Rai backward. Im Kang's expression turned extremely cautious. He urgently signaled, "Step back, Ju Rai." While Ju Rai still did not understand what it was, seeing that Bang Won no longer pretended, a surge of overwhelming energy flowed around him. "Oh look, you are like a kitten puffing up its fur." "No, not exactly, because your senses and instincts are far superior to any animal." Half of Bang Won's face was hidden in darkness. Only his eyes were shining strangely. "So we meet like this. That is the face behind the mask, huh? This is the real aura of Oh Bang Won, the founder of the Sub-Mu Martial Arts Academy, the successor of Subak." Facing Im Kang's wide-open eyes, Bang Won remained calm. "I am sure you have many questions." Then he carried the trophy and walked away. Before leaving, he said one short sentence, "I will keep it brief. If you want to find me, go to Mount Yangpo." When that old figure gradually disappeared, Ju Rai still could not believe his eyes and shouted, "What?" At this moment, above the sky, Incheon Airport, a blue sky was covering everywhere. Not far from there, a strange green foot suddenly appeared. That foot belonged to a mutant creature. It was silently approaching the airport. Suddenly the mutant opened its wide mouth to the sky and screamed madly. At first it was only a small sound, but it quickly grew louder and spread everywhere. But everyone in the waiting hall still did not know anything. They were still impatiently waiting for the plane at the gate. KC 7744. It will land soon. Ju Rai, while looking at the information board nearby, asked, "But that old man, who is he?" Im Kang replied tiredly, "I do not know. I should not have joined the contest." Ju Rai continued to wonder. "Forget about his identity. Why did he take your trophy? Without the trophy there is no prize money. How could this happen?" Im Kang was paying attention to something else, and Ju Rai, "Are we at the right place? There are not many people here." Ju Rai then realized We came to the wrong place. Oh no, it should be Gate C, right? While both were confused, the loud alarm sound suddenly echoed. Alert! From the loudspeaker on the wall, the announcement voice became more urgent. This is an alert from the Non-Human Disaster Warning Center. A mysterious creature suspected to be not human has been detected on the runway of Incheon Airport. The sound continued to remind me. All citizens please quickly go to the shelter. We repeat, a mysterious creature. On the runway, the mutant was walking straight toward the plane, preparing to enter the runway. The mutant's yellow pupils were staring upward. It seemed that the airplane was its target. Then it screamed once more and rushed forward at terrifying speed.